Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, I look crazy, but let's celebrate. Okay, who we got all in here? Hey, everybody. First of all, y'all made me feel like a bully Because, yes, I was watching Afro Man. Like something's in my eye. Yes, I was watching Afro Man. And the minute I started laughing, oh, there it goes, at that lady about that video of her running. First of all, that man always an actor fool. He ain't never acted right. And then he got up there. It was just like this brother, my eyes watering, Jesus. And then, I mean, they went in that man's house. Her crying on that stand. He's, and that officer looking down at that pound cake, like, listen, that's his footage. Y'all took y'all ass to that house. Y'all went messing with that man. Y'all could have looked at him, and they should have known when he walked in there with the blazer with the matching sunglasses that he wouldn't be about to be for none of the right things. Okay. Lemon pound cake. Okay. Well, in the meantime, we're going to celebrate because thanks to you guys, we are now official affiliates on Twitch. Hey, Twitch. So the subscriptions are active. We have a couple things active actually over there. Yeah, yesterday I tried to catch up on a couple things. I watched I'm Not a Lawyer, but and then I also caught up on the Still Standing After the Verdict, part 1 of Shannon breaking his silence. Oh my God. So to celebrate today, because I don't want us to get too far behind, there are 2 trials, and I'm going to let you guys pick the trial that we watch, okay? Both of them are probably starting now, or like 10 minutes ago. And one's in Massachusetts and one's in Georgia. So either way, my ass gonna be up this early. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of any of them. Massachusetts versus Judy Church or Georgia versus Suzanne Mericle. Have y'all heard of either of those? If not, we're going to start with Suzanne Mericle. So, Suzanne Mericle, starting today. This incident was, let me see, from March 8th of 2025. And they're trying to say Susan, who's a dentist, she's about 61, was arguing with her boyfriend, 68-year-old James David Barron. Okay. They said her and James was into it. James went and locked himself in a bedroom, and allegedly Suzanne popped him through the door. But Suzanne is claiming self-defense. Okay. So Georgia has her charged with malice unaliving, felony unaliving, aggravated assault on a family violence act, possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, and tampering with evidence. And she's been held in the Hall County Jail without bond since her arrest. Let's see. So there's alleging that he locked himself in the bedroom. She popped him through the bedroom door, hit him in the torso. He passed at the hospital. Oh no, I said something about her having a DUI prior to the popping, but they ain't gonna do nothing. But this is the thing. James Barron's kids then filed a wrongful unaliving suit against the dentist. So that's also going on. So that's Georgia. Now, Judy Church. Ooh, Judy. Judy Church in Massachusetts is, why are these women in their 60s losing their mind? She's 64, former teacher, and she's accused of taking out her boyfriend, okay? And her boyfriend was 55-year-old Leroy Fowler. Now, they're saying that she used that windshield de-icing, that's not funny, but there's another poison in it, okay? Back in November of 2022. Now, they are alleging that she laced his Powerade bottle with either antifreeze or the de-icer for your car. They said that they found, I know it's more than 10. I read this morning. I mean, last night. They found, what was the lady to put the man in the suitcase to have videos on her phone like that? They found videos in the phone, in Church's phone, showing Fowler fucked up, in medical distress, thrashing around in the room, all jacked up, before she called 911 on November 11th of 2022. Now, the evidence that they found in her home, it was 13 videos. There you go. 13 videos in her phone of him fucked up. They found the bottle of the de-icing fluid in the kitchen, a glass of orange liquid near Fowler's part of the bed. Then they're saying that this was jealousy because he had another girlfriend. Now, additionally, with these poisons, child, she allegedly took out a life insurance policy on him in 2023. That one was Judy. Now, she did plead. I think she got first degree unaliving. But they did her jury selection on the 16th when Corey, they was on her jury selection when Corey went into verdict watch. So they actually finished it. And so she started the day. So it sounds like y'all want to watch. That's in Massachusetts, right? Sounds like y'all want to watch Judy. I want to watch Judy. All right, let's go. We're going to go ahead and watch Judy. All right, let me go on, cue it up. Look like we're going to watch Judy. We ain't never picked a child together, have we? I just be watching shit. Okay. Well, as a thank you, we are now officially all the way in there with Twitch. So we did do a couple of things. So we have actually, you should see may see a couple of extra things on there. One, there are subscriptions live on Twitch that we are working on. I think we went to, so we are going to do some things. Hold on. Where did I put it? No, I could have swore. Did they do it? So there's 3 different levels to them. We got a little bit something. I love it over here. So we have the tier 1, we have the case watchers, the jury panel, and then the MJS chambers. In the MJS chambers, I'm going to start doing a little something called the verdict vault. So there may be some things that we do as subscribers where we gonna hit the verdict vault and get together alone and talk about some of these cases and where we going with them. Because I do know, again, we do have some controversial cases that are coming up that we're going to watch. And so we might have to step inside the verdict vault and talk about some things before we come out and deal with the rest of the publics. Okay. Now, what else was it? I think that is everything. So we are officially watching. I'll update everything, but day 1, Massachusetts versus Judy Church and her Powerade bottle. Let me see if they did anything else in here before. Go ahead, Mr. By all means.
play what? Is it that you're going to play something during the opening?
All right, good morning. We're back on the record with Peace on Trial.
Good morning to all. I don't know if we have all our jurors yet, but we do. So we'll be ready to go momentarily. Well, I have to tell you, I don't pay a lot of attention to exactly what's required to preserve.
Now, I did not see how long this one's going to be, so.
I will treat as a standing objection the introduction of evidence as to which you filed a motion to suppress, and that suppression motion was denied. So it's contents of cell phone. What was the other thing?
Good morning. Good morning.
So the items that were seized pursuant to the search warrant to search the house and a search of one or more cell phones. All right, so one cell phone. When the government introduces that evidence, I won't require you to come inside or tell me right now you object to the introduction to preserve your suppression motion for appellate review, and I will accept that. Yes, why don't we do that?
They need some better mics, baby.
And last, anything else? I see that. It's basically a motion limiting the court's hearsay rules. Yes, and I understand. I'm not exactly sure what statements that the Commonwealth will seek to elicit from you by Fowler III. However, we point out that in this interview, he appears to be relaying a lot of statements made by other people.
I'm still going to leave both up, guys. I'm not going to leave anybody. Do what makes you feel comfortable.
About what did a doctor tell you? You'll object, and I'll deal with the objection. I expect I will sustain. I appreciate that. So I don't think I need to make a rule on this. I will simply enforce the rule of evidence. I think with that, we're ready to have our jurors started. Are they ready to come in? Okay. Oh, yes. I have allowed the motion to sequester with one exception. That is the witness at Tammy Carbone. Pursuant to our discussion yesterday, she will be permitted to be in the courtroom before she testifies. The sequestration rules will still apply to her other than that aspect of it. She's not in the courtroom now, is she?
She's not, because I asked her to be outside for opening statements.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I just think that.
All right, so she won't be in for opening statements, and then she'll come in.
I did tell her that she could discuss the testimony.
Very good, then I accept that. That's the instruction I wanted to make sure was conveyed to her.
Police.
And so you've received a copy of my draft limiting instructions regarding that statement that I ruled admissible attributed to the decedent, Mr. Fowler. We don't have to have that discussion now, but we need to have it before that testimony is elicited in terms of what your views are regarding the propriety and adequacy of that instruction. Go ahead, Ms. Strasnick, by all means. To play what?
I'm going to try to put us.
Oh. Go ahead. Do whatever you need to do. Mr. Norkunis, I understand that you may use one of our hearing-assisted headphones. Do you want
11.
me to say anything about that?
There, we got some subtitles. Does that help?
People to hear a little bit better, and then you may see people, including Mr. Narkunis, using one. I won't say anything if you don't want me to, but they may wonder what you're doing. $7,000 set. If the audiologist, the light one doesn't seem to want to work. 7,000. Why would you want to do it? I don't know if that's a lot or a little for hearing aids these days.
Okay, okay.
All right, for the judge.
I should not have opened that. All right, we got jurors coming in. Now, I was pressing buttons yesterday. So tell me what y'all think and what else I should make. Get back on the mic, Judge. He looked like the one detective from the original Law and Order.
Secondly, during the course of the trial, you may see various participants in this case with headphones on. We have serious assistive devices that are tied into a recording system, a microphone system. So you may see an attorney or perhaps a search application having a headset on, and that's just assisting in the hearing. So now that you've all sat down, we're going to have you stand right back up so that one was running straight to the call.
Will all the members of the jury please raise their right hands? Do each of you solemnly swear that you shall well and truly try the issue now before the Commonwealth and the defendant at the bar, according to the evidence, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, hearken to indictment number 2023-14. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Essex writ. The jury.
Apparently somebody who can project.
Massachusetts upon their oath present that Judy E. Church of Salisbury, in said county of Essex, on or about November 13th, 2022, at Salisbury in the county of Essex aforesaid, did assault and beat Leroy Fowler with intent to murder him, and by such assault and beating did kill and murder said Leroy Fowler, against the peace of the Commonwealth aforesaid, and contrary to the form of the statute, such case made and provided a true bill, signed by the district attorney and the foreperson chairperson of the grand jury. To this indictment, the defendant at the bar has heretofore pleaded that she is not guilty and for trial has put herself upon her country, which country you are. You are now sworn to try the issue. If said defendant is guilty, you will say so. If she is not guilty, you will say so and no more. Members of the jury, hearken to your evidence.
Thank you, Ms. Draper. Jurors, as we start this trial, I want to give you some initial instructions. I will explain the indictment that you just heard, and then I'm going to describe what will happen during the course of the trial. I'll explain my role as the judge, the lawyer's role as advocates in this case, and your role as jurors. I will discuss some of the legal rules that apply in this case. And finally, I will explain some important things that you all must do during the course of your service as jurors in this case. And just as importantly, things you must not do. So turning first to the indictment that Ms. Draper just read, you must keep firmly in mind that an indictment is merely a legal document that formally accuses someone of a crime and nothing more. So the indictment itself in this case is not evidence. And the fact that the defendant, Judy Church, is facing this charge does not mean that she is guilty of committing the charged offense. As I told you when we were choosing you as our jurors, Ms. Church has pleaded not guilty to the charge, and she denies the Commonwealth's allegations. At the end of the trial, you will decide whether the prosecution has proved that charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Now I'm going to explain how the trial will proceed. When I finish with these initial instructions, the prosecutor and defense counsel will make opening statements to you. An opening statement is a summary of what the lawyer expects the evidence will show. After the opening statements, you will hear testimony from various witnesses, and the evidence may also include documents and other things such as photographs, surveillance video footage, and tangible items. The prosecution will call witnesses first.
Shoot, I need some coffee. Let's start there.
Call additional witnesses if she chooses to do so. But she's under no obligation to call any witnesses or to produce any evidence because the burden is exclusively upon the Commonwealth to prove that she is guilty. A defendant in a criminal trial is entitled
They're doing a little better with the sound.
The Commonwealth prove it. But if a defendant chooses to present any evidence, the defendant does so after the Commonwealth is rested. That is, after the Commonwealth has completed its presentation. After both sides have rested, and
you can't play with the sound when we're talking about poisoning somebody now.
The attorney for each side will present a closing argument. A closing argument is an opportunity for each of the attorneys to sum up for you the evidence that you've heard, suggest what inferences and conclusions you should draw from it, and ultimately what verdict you should come to. The lawyer's opening statements and their closing arguments are important parts of trial, and they may help you make sense of the evidence, but you must bear in mind that they are not evidence themselves. At the end of the trial, I will instruct you in detail on the legal rules that you must apply in deciding this case. And then after we randomly select 4 of you to serve as our alternates, the remaining 12 jurors will then engage in what we refer to as deliberations. That is, you will privately discuss the evidence that you've heard, and you will come to your verdict in this case. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the respective roles of the participants in this case. My job as the judge in this case is to make sure that this case is tried fairly, efficiently, and according to the law. I must make sure that what you see and hear during the course of this trial is allowed under our rules of evidence. Those rules determine what evidence the lawyers may and may not present to you. The purpose of these rules is to make sure that what you do see and hear during the course of this trial is relevant to the case and appropriate for you to consider. If one of the lawyers says objection to a question that another lawyer asks.
All right, guys, while he's instructing the jury, I just pulled something up. Hold on, guys. Real jacked up. It took 2 days for Leroy to pass. 2 days. So real quick, while he's giving jury instructions, good morning, Lucky's mom. We took the time to quickly celebrate our new affiliate status on Twitch by letting you guys pick the trial. And they picked Massachusetts versus Judy Church, who ironically enough, it's another poisoning, um, who allegedly took her boyfriend out by, they say, using like the de-icer fluid, or basically same main ingredient as antifreeze, and giving it to him. And they say she laced his Powerade bottle, recorded him 13 times in her phone in distress, and then call 911 and say, I think he may have ingested something. But I knew there was something different to his unaliving. And they're claiming that she did this to him on November 11th and called 911 on November 11th. But he did not pass until November 13th. And I think it was ultimately, thought it was from kidney damage. "13 videos over 30 minutes." Okay. All right. Back to the trial. I remember there was something crazy to how he passed away.
During the trial, you may hear an attorney occasionally.
Like the suitcase lady with the video.
That's where we go over to the end of my bench and the attorneys and I have a little private conversation. It may be that the attorneys want me to reconsider a ruling I may have made in response to an objection in open court, and we do not conduct any protracted discussions on legal issues in the jury's presence. Maybe they want to preview for me something they want to do and want to get permission in advance. And it may be that I want to see the attorneys at sidebar, because sometimes if there's an objection, for example, I need to know from the attorney what the expected answer to the objection is before I can determine whether that answer would be admissible or not under our rules of evidence. We will try to keep these sidebars to a minimum, but bear in mind, nobody's trying to keep from you evidence that you should hear. Exactly the opposite is the case. We're trying to make sure you don't hear anything you're not supposed to hear under our rules of evidence. So it would defeat the purpose of a sidebar conference if you try to listen in to what we're saying. We usually put on a white noise machine. It's really kind of dreadful, but we put that on during these sidebar conferences. And I give you permission in advance. Anytime we go over the sidebar for one of these discussions, if you wish to stand up quietly and stretch in place, move around a little bit, you may do so. Now, that brings us to your role in this case as jurors. You have the most important role in this trial. After you've seen and heard all of the evidence, you alone will decide who and what to believe, and whether the prosecution has proved that this church is guilty of the charged offense, based on the legal principles that I will explain to you. You must decide this case based only on the evidence you see and hear during the trial, and on my instructions of law. In considering the evidence, you may and should bring to bear upon such consideration your common sense, your life experience, and your intelligence. What you may not do is decide this case based on suspicion, guesswork, or speculation. The evidence will consist of the testimony of the witnesses, as you recall it, and any documents that become exhibits or tangible items. Other things that you will see and hear during the course of this trial are not evidence. For example, as I've already told you, the opening statements and closing arguments of the attorneys are helpful to you, but they are not evidence. And the questions that the attorneys ask of witnesses are not evidence. You must bear in mind that it is the witnesses' answers to the questions that constitute the evidence. So you should only consider the questions to the extent that they give context and meaning to the witnesses' answers. To make this principle a little bit more concrete, if you imagine that we were trying a civil motor vehicle case, and a lawyer asked the witness, "Didn't you see the car drive right through the red light into the intersection and crash into the other car?" And the witness says, "No," or "I don't remember." There is no evidence before that jury that a car drove through a red light and crashed into another car, because the witness didn't affirm any of the information that was in the question. As I just told you, the question itself is not evidence. So do bear that in mind. A very important part of your job as jurors is to decide who and what to believe. Whether testimony is contradicted or not, it's entirely up to you whether you believe it. You have great discretion in this regard. You may believe everything a witness tells you, some of it, or none of it. Again, that's entirely.
No, this ain't Afro Man.
In deciding who or what to believe, you should ask and consider some important questions. First, was the witness honestly trying to tell the truth or deliberately lying? Although witnesses take an oath to tell the truth, sometimes a witness says things that the witness knows are false. If you conclude that a witness lied to you about something, then of course you should not believe that part of the testimony. You may also decide, or not, that such a lie causes you to disbelieve other testimony by that witness. Second, ask yourself, was the witness accurate, or did the witness get something wrong without meaning to do so? Sometimes a witness may recall seeing or hearing something, but still be mistaken. If you conclude that a witness tried to be truthful, but that some part of the person's testimony was not accurate, then you should not consider the inaccurate testimony. Again, you may decide, or not, that such mistaken or inaccurate testimony causes you to disbelieve other testimony by that witness. Please bear in mind during the course of this trial that I have no opinion about who or what you should believe or about how you should decide this case. So please don't take anything that I may say or do during the course of this trial, any rulings I make, any body language I may display, as suggesting to you who or what to believe or how you should decide this case. I have no opinion about the facts of this case. It is your responsibility and yours alone to decide this case, and you must do so free from interference from anyone, myself included. Now I want to talk about some fairness principles. Our system of justice depends on judges like me and jurors like you being able and willing to make careful and fair decisions. All people deserve fair and equal treatment in our system of justice, regardless of their race, national origin, religion, age, ability, gender, sexual orientation, education, income level, or any other personal characteristic. You have all agreed to be fair, and I'm sure that you want to be fair, but that's not always easy. One difficulty comes from our own built-in expectations and assumptions. They exist even if we aren't aware of them, and even if we believe we don't have them.
Good morning.
Some of you may have heard this referred to as unconscious or implicit bias, and that's what I'm referring to. We judges have the same problem as everyone else, so I'm going to give you some strategies that we have found useful to deal with this issue. First, slow down. Do not rush to a decision. Hasty decisions are more likely to reflect stereotypes or hidden biases. Second, keep an open mind throughout the trial. Avoid drawing conclusions until the end of the case when you and your fellow jurors deliberate. Remember that when you do ultimately deliberate, you will have all the evidence before you, and you will have all the time
thank
you need
you.
to make a careful decision. So there's truly no need to start making up your mind before then. Third, you should listen closely to all the witnesses. That is the very best way to ensure that you decide this case based on the evidence and the law instead of upon unsupported assumptions. Fourth, as you listen to the testimony about the people involved in this case, consider them as individuals rather than members of a particular group. Finally, I might ask myself, would I view the evidence differently if the people were from different groups, such as different racial, ethnic, or gender identity groups? At the end of the case, I will remind you of these strategies and ask you to focus on the evidence instead of any unsupported assumptions you may make. All we ask is that you individually and as a group do your very best to resolve this case upon the evidence and the law without sympathy, bias, or prejudice, to the best of your ability as human beings. Now I'm going to turn to legal principles. There are certain legal rules that you must follow in this case. I'll discuss them, as I've said, in detail at the end of the trial, but here are some key things you should know from the beginning. And as you listen to the initial part of these instructions, I think you will recall that I discussed many of these things with you during the empanelment process. First, everybody who is accused of a crime is presumed innocent of that crime. This church is presumed innocent of the charge in this case. That means you must consider Miss Church to be innocent now, and you must still consider her to be innocent at the end of the trial, unless the prosecution has proved beyond a reasonable doubt, through evidence presented during the trial, that Miss Church committed the charged offense. I'll explain what I mean by reasonable doubt in just a moment. Miss Church does not have to do anything to convince you that she is innocent. She does not have to explain anything. Miss Church does not have to testify, call, or even question any witnesses, or provide any evidence at all, because you must presume she is innocent. Instead, it is up to the Commonwealth to prove the charge against Miss Church beyond a reasonable doubt. And this burden of proof that is placed upon the Commonwealth never shifts to a criminal defendant in a trial. At the end of the trial, after you've seen and heard all of the evidence, you will deliberate with each other, as I said, meaning you will discuss the evidence and decide on your verdict. If you have a reasonable doubt about Miss Church's guilt, then your verdict must be not guilty. You may find Miss Church guilty only if all 12 deliberating jurors agree that the Commonwealth has proved the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. And you may only find the defendant, Miss Church, not guilty if all 12 jurors agree that the Commonwealth has failed to prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. In other words, regardless of what your verdict may ultimately
They're
be,
closing in Afro-Man.
all 12 jurors must agree. So, as I've said, the burden is on the Commonwealth to prove this charge that has been brought against Miss Church beyond a reasonable doubt. What is proof beyond a reasonable doubt?
Did
The
not
term is
know.
often used and probably pretty
Hold on.
well understood, though it is not easily defined. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean proof beyond all
I'm missing the
possible.
phone.
For everything in
I
the
may-
lives of human beings is open to some possible or imaginary.
Another room. Okay.
A charge is proved beyond a reasonable doubt if, after you have compared and considered all of the evidence, you have in your minds an abiding conviction to a moral certainty that the charge is true. When we refer to moral certainty, we mean the highest degree of certainty that's possible in matters relating to human affairs, based solely on the evidence that has been put before you in this case. I've told you that every person is presumed to be innocent until he or she is proved guilty, and that the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth. If you evaluate all the evidence and you still have a reasonable doubt remaining, Miss Church is entitled to the benefit of that doubt, and she must be acquitted. That is found not guilty. It is not enough for the Commonwealth to establish a probability, even a strong probability, that the defendant is more likely to be guilty than not guilty. That is not enough. Instead, the evidence must convince you of the defendant's guilt to a reasonable and moral certainty, a certainty that convinces your understanding and satisfies your reason and judgment as jurors who are sworn to act conscientiously on the evidence. That's what we mean by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The Commonwealth in this case has brought a single charge or indictment against the defendant, Miss Church.
That was my
charging her
question
with the
today.
crime of murder in the first degree.
It was the song
Under our
and
law,
lyric,
there are
right?
2 degrees of murder: murder in the first degree and murder in the second degree. If you find the defendant guilty of murder,
Can't read that right this
shall
second.
decide the degree of murder. The Commonwealth alleges that the Commonwealth committed murder in the first degree on 2 separate theories: that the murder was
Was there?
committed
Did he
with
rap about it,
premeditation,
Laura?
and that it was committed with extreme atrocity or cruelty. To find the defendant guilty on either of these theories of murder, you must be unanimous, as I've explained. What that means with these 2 theories is that all the deliberating jurors must agree that
Okay, that wasn't the one that he sent the song lyric to us.
every required element of a particular
I gotta
theory
look again then.
beyond a reasonable doubt.
The one I was looking
If
at
you are unable to
sent a
prove
song
unanimously
lyric to a
that the
friend
Commonwealth
talking
has
about
met its burden to prove
put
beyond a
to
reasonable
be in the
doubt
trunk
either of these theories of first degree
and
murder,
they'll never see her
you shall
again.
consider whether the Commonwealth has proved the defendant
I looked at
guilty
the wrong
beyond a
one.
reasonable doubt of murder in the second.
I'll straighten it out in a second.
I
Once
will
it's
begin
done.
by instructing you on the elements of each of these 2 theories of murder in the first degree, and I will then instruct you on murder in the second degree. I came down with a pretty bad cough between yesterday and today. It's making this a little challenging. I apologize. So I will first define the elements of murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation. To prove the defendant, Miss Church, guilty of murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation,
The mom and the
the
son.
Commonwealth must prove
Okay,
each
I'm
of the
mixing 2
following beyond a reasonable doubt. First, that the defendant, Judy Church, caused the death of the victim, Leroy Fowler. Second, that Miss Church intended to kill Mr. Fowler, and it's Miss Church consciously and purposely intended to cause Mr. Fowler's death. And third, that Miss Church committed the killing with deliberate premeditation. That is, she decided to kill after a period of reflection. I will now discuss each of these requirements a little bit more. The first element is that Miss Church caused the death of Mr. Fowler. A defendant's act is the cause of death where the act, in a natural and continuous sequence, results in death, and without which death would not have occurred.
Excuse me.
The second element is that Miss Church intended to kill Mr. Fowler. That is, Miss Church consciously and purposely intended to cause Mr. Fowler's death.
You can admit that's not
Third
fair
element
financial maturity by the Afro Man trial because I laughed my ass off yesterday.
That is after a period of reflection. Deliberate premeditation does not require any particular time of reflection. A decision to kill may be formed over a period of days, hours, or even a few seconds. The key is the sequence of the thought process. First, the consideration whether to kill. Second, the decision to kill. And third, the killing arising from that decision. There is no deliberate premeditation where the action is taken so quickly that a defendant takes no time to reflect on the action and then decides to do it. I will now define the elements of murder in the first degree with extreme atrocity or cruelty. You shall consider the theory of murder in the first degree, regardless of whether or not you shall consider this particular theory of murder in the first degree, regardless of whether or not you find the Commonwealth has proved murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation. To prove Miss Church guilty of murder with extreme atrocity or cruelty.
There was a lyric, Laura. It was in the messages from the testimony. He did. He called himself being a rapper afterwards and sent his friend a lyric. I'm going to put the B up in the trunk. Her family would never see her again.
Intended to kill Mr.
I did read that one.
Or B,
because I said, here they go thinking they can rap about it.
Bodily harm to Mr. Fowler. Or C, intended to do an act which in the circumstances known to Miss Church, a reasonable person would have known, created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result. The third element is that the killing was committed with extreme atrocity or cruelty. I will now explain these elements a little bit more. The first element, Miss Church caused the death of Mr. Fowler, is the same as the first element of murder in the first degree by deliberate premeditation, and the very same instruction applies. The second element is that the defendant, once again, A, intended to kill Mr. Fowler, or B, intended to cause grievous bodily harm to Mr. Fowler, or C, intended to do an act which in the circumstances known to Miss Church, a reasonable person would have known created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result. As you can see, this second element has three sub-elements, which I'll refer to as prongs. The Commonwealth satisfies its burden of proof if it proves any one of the three prongs of that second element.
No trial date yet. Okay.
The first prong, that the defendant intended to kill, is the same as
the
second
messages. I was reading the testimony.
With deliberate
I said, you idiot, you confessed.
Second and third prongs are different from any element of murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation. The second prong.
Real quick. Yeah, I was reading up on it because I knew somebody had told me to do it. Plus, it was in that list. There's a list of crazy, crazy cases going on in Michigan this year alone that started with that poor guy that they pretended to be like the utility company or something, and it was a jeweler that they went. We might have to go back and watch the preliminary so that we can watch that, and then because they still haven't set a trial date yet, so we might do it closer to the trial date. I'll put it on our calendar. But yeah, I was reading some of the stuff that came out in the messages, and he sent a song lyric that he had wrote to his after she went missing to his friend. Like an idiot. Let me put this on our chart. Yeah, they still haven't set the trial date yet, but I saw that the preliminary was to get them upgraded from second degree to first, and they were upgraded. So yes, that is now on our list of things. So once we find out the trial date, we'll squeeze in the preliminary prior to the actual trial.
Person would have known created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result.
Because I was like, that's the confession. What are we here for?
The third element is that the killing was committed with extreme atrocity or cruelty.
Corey.
Extreme atrocity means an act that is extremely wicked or brutal, appalling, horrifying, or utterly revolting. Extreme cruelty means that the defendant caused the person's death by a method that surpassed the cruelty inherent in the taking of any human life. You must determine whether the method or mode of a killing is so shocking as to amount to murder with extreme atrocity or cruelty. The inquiry focuses on the defendant's actions in terms of the manner and means of inflicting death and the resulting effect on the victim. In deciding whether the Commonwealth has proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Miss Church caused the death of Mr. Fowler with extreme atrocity or cruelty, you must consider the following three factors. One, whether Miss Church was indifferent to or took pleasure in the suffering of Mr. Fowler.
Oh, baby, you know.
Whether Miss Church's method or means of killing Mr. Fowler was reasonably likely to substantially increase or prolong the conscious suffering of Mr. Fowler.
Baby, that you gone.
3, whether the means used by Miss Church were excessive and out
May
of
13th is
proportion
Eric's
to what would
birthday.
be needed
Jesus.
to kill a person.
The sentencing date?
Considering whether the means used by Miss Church were excessive and out of proportion to what would be needed to kill a person, you may consider the extent of the injuries to Mr. Fowler, the number of blows delivered, the manner, degree, and severity of the force used, and the nature of the weapon, instrument, or method used. You cannot make a finding of extreme atrocity or cruelty unless it is based on one or more of the 3 factors that I have just listed. Now I turn to the requirements of proof for murder in the second degree. They are the very same as murder in the first degree with extreme atrocity or cruelty, but without the element that the killing was committed with extreme atrocity or cruelty. Consequently, in order to prove murder in the second degree, the Commonwealth must prove the following 2 elements. First, that Miss Church caused the death of Mr. Fowler, and second, that Miss Church either A, intended to kill Mr. Fowler, or B, intended to cause grievous bodily harm to Mr. Fowler, or C, intended to do an act which in the circumstances known to Miss Church, a
Her
reasonable person
link
would have known
on
to
his
create
death
the punishment
date and her sentencing on his birthday.
and I've already explained those elements to you.
Can't make it.
Moving on to a few other administrative matters before I wrap up. At the end of the trial, as I've told you, you will meet in private to deliberate, and you'll have all the exhibits with you at that time. We cannot provide you with any transcripts of any witness testimony, so you need to understand that from the outset.
So you and your husband
Rely
are
on
on
what
the same
your memory
page.
of what each of the witnesses told you. You may take notes during the trial if you wish to do so. After the opening statements, we will distribute notebooks and pens to everyone. Some jurors find it helpful to take notes while listening to the evidence. It may help them focus on the testimony and remember what the witnesses said. Some of you may not want to take notes, which is fine. Whether you take notes or not is entirely up to each and every one of you. Whether you take notes or not, you need to pay close attention to what each witness says and how they say it. In deciding who and what to believe, you should watch and listen to each witness carefully. Think about whether the witness seems believable, whether the witness's memory seems reliable, and anything else about how the witness testifies and what the witness says that helps you decide whether and how much to believe the witness. When you deliberate at the end of the trial, remember that it is your memory of the testimony and evidence that counts. Your notes may help jog your memory about what a witness said, but they are not a substitute for what you or other jurors remember about the testimony. Do not assume that because you or another juror wrote something down, that is more accurate than your or another juror's memory of what the witness actually said. Your notes are confidential. No one, including me, will read them. The court officers will collect your notebooks and pens at the end of each trial day and keep them safe until they're returned to you the next day. And when the trial is over, they will tear out the contents of each notebook and shred them without looking at them. If you have any trouble hearing or seeing during the course of the trial, just raise your hand or let one of our court officers know, and we'll make any necessary adjustments.
We
generally
can't
take a
hear
morning
good.
recess at about 11. We do not usually take a break in the afternoon after our 1 hour lunch break. We typically sit for 2 to 4 without a break. But if you need a break at any other time during the course of the trial, don't hesitate to raise your hand or let us know. We're always willing to take a quick break. If you need to stand and stretch and move around a little bit, don't hesitate to do that. We will accommodate that. If you find your attention flagging, your eyes are going to half staff a little bit, and you're really struggling to stay awake, don't be embarrassed by that. That's a very, very common phenomenon. I've never been a judge in an actual, juror rather, in an actual trial. I've always wanted to be, but it's never happened to me, even though I get called for jury every 3 years, just like most people. But I was a juror in what they call a mock trial at one of our prestigious local law schools. And I was seated in the front row of the jury room, and I discovered pretty quickly that I couldn't stay awake. It's very hard to passively listen to information. So if you are struggling, we try to pay attention. You may all of a sudden hear me say, let's stand up and take a stretch break because I notice someone may be struggling. But don't hesitate to ask for a break for that reason. We'd much rather take a 5-minute break, allow you to recaffeinate or to step outside and get some fresh air and come back revived, because we don't want anybody to miss anything during the course of the trial. So again, don't be embarrassed by that. We can deal with that. Now, I want to give you some cautions, those things that you must do and must not do as jurors. So do keep an open mind throughout the trial. You You must not decide the case until you've seen and heard all the evidence and listen to my final instructions at the end of the trial. Do not discuss the evidence or this case with other jurors until you start your formal deliberations at the end of the trial. And this is because it can be hard to keep an open mind if two or more of you start discussing the evidence before the end of the case. Do not talk to or communicate with anyone else about this case until after you reach and deliver your verdict and I tell you you've completed your jury service. And this is because you have to decide this case based solely on the evidence presented in this courtroom, and you must not consider any other information or opinions. And when I say that you may not communicate with anyone else about the case before you've reached your verdict, that means you may not do so in any way, including through the use of a cell phone or other electronic device. So until you reach your verdict and return it in court, you may not text, chat, email, tweet, blog, or post anything else about this case using social media or other electronic media or in any other way. You have to wait until the trial is over and you've reached your verdict before you say anything about this case to others. In this day and age, when many people feel the need to tweet, post, and blog about every aspect of their life, no matter how mundane, if you are one of them, you may continue to do so about every aspect of your life except this one. You may not do so about your jury service in this case or anything having to do with this case until that jury service is completed. You may not talk to the parties, the lawyers, or the witnesses during this trial. So if, for example, in the comings and goings, you see one of the lawyers and they just turn away or just give you a curt nod, they are not being rude. They're simply avoiding any interactions with you outside the confines of this courtroom during the court day, and you must do the same. You must avoid any interactions with any of the participants in this case outside of what occurs in this courtroom in my presence. Do not do any research or investigation about this case online or in any other way, or have anyone else do it for you. So do not visit any place mentioned during the trial. Do not Google or search for the names of anyone participating in this case or anything else about it. Once again, this is because you have to decide this case based only on the evidence that's presented in my instructions on the law. Compliance with these instructions is a part of your oath as jurors, and a violation of these instructions could impact the fair administration of justice. So every morning when we first convene,
Miss Paula, they have chosen Massachusetts versus Judy Church, and they are saying Miss Judy Church took her boyfriend Leroy out with a laced Powerade bottle that had some de-icer antifreeze in it, recorded him 13 times over 30 minutes in distress, and then called 911, said I think he might have ingested something. And the poor man didn't pass for 2 days. They said he had another girlfriend.
This case, you'll want to be able to provide emphatic no responses to those questions every morning when I pose them, and I require all jurors to answer right out loud when I do. If any issue should arise during the course of this trial about your exposure to any outside information, or any other issue should arise that you think might in any way impact your ability to continue to sit as a fair and impartial juror, please do not discuss that issue or that information with any of your fellow jurors. Rather, let one of our court officers know, and if need be, counsel and I can meet with you privately. We'll hear what the issue is, and we'll resolve it with you alone without involving any other jurors. Now, jurors, I know that you will try this case according to the oath that each of you have taken as jurors. When you took that oath, you promised that you would well and truly try the issues between the Commonwealth and the defendant according to the evidence and the law. If you follow that oath, if you approach this case with a truly open mind and make your decisions fairly and without prejudice or bias or sympathy for anyone, I'm confident that at the conclusion of this case, you will arrive at a fair and just verdict. Do any counsel need to see me at sidebar about any of my instructions? All right. Once again, flawless instructions. Jurors, I'm going to have you stand up right now. So move around a little bit, shake out the cobwebs. As you stand, I will remind you that the opening statements you are about to hear are not evidence. Once again, this is a preview of the evidence that the attorneys expect to present, a roadmap of sorts that gives you a sense of what the evidence will be. Because it is the Commonwealth that bears the burden of proving the charge of murder of the person treated brought against the defendant in the church, the Commonwealth goes first at the opening statements phase of the proceedings. So the first witness is familiar with the Commonwealth, followed by defense counsel. In this case, will be expelled at the closing arguments phase of the proceedings. We reverse the order. At that point, defense counsel will go first, followed by the Commonwealth, because again,
hate being alone. I hate you for all the lies. You don't love me. This is not love. Those were the words that Judy Church wrote in her notebooks that the police found while investigating the murder of Leroy Fowler. Leroy Fowler was Miss Church's boyfriend. They had been in a relationship for about 10 years.
Now, you gonna start out the gate like
The
that?
relationship were pretty good. They lived together at her house in Salisbury. They had purchased a home in Florida. They had some dogs that the defendant and the victim both really loved. Was it a notebook? Yeah.
Oh, you've got the notebooks now. I usually have them distributed after the openings, but that's fine. If you choose to take, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Committee. I didn't know they were gonna have notebooks. If you choose to take notes, just bear in mind that your notes don't reflect evidence. Mr. Committee, please continue.
As I said, some parts of that relationship looked pretty good.
I ain't the one that gossip. You ain't heard that from me.
Toxic, horrible.
Let me
horrible
color.
relationship. The primary reason why that relationship was so bad was that Mr. Fowler had another girlfriend. Everybody knew that he had two girlfriends. Everybody accepted it, but I think it's fair to say neither of those two women were happy about it. Miss Church was not happy about it at all. You'll get the chance to read many of the entries that she put in her notebook describing the way she thought about this relationship. And this one that I just read to you, I hate being alone, I hate you for all the lies, is just a representation of these many, many diary entries, notebook entries.
Oh, you ain't leaving?
Both her written notebooks and in the notes section of her iPhone. She cataloged things that he did to her that made her feel unvalued, unloved, unwanted. And it's easy to understand in part where Miss Church was coming from. Nobody wants to feel they are not a primary person in their
Leroy was pimping.
Nobody wants to know that when things get bad in your relationship, your partner leaves and goes to his other girlfriend. But that's what was going on, and that's what has been going on for years in this particular relationship. And that's what brought us here today. That's what caused the death of Mr. Fowler.
It's worse than Cradle Cap, ain't it?
On November 11th, 2022, was actually Mr. Fowler's birthday. And that morning, the defendant, Ms. Church, called the police because Mr. Fowler was sick. He was in bad shape. He was stumbling around the apartment. He couldn't stand up. He couldn't get his feet. He really couldn't talk or form any words. Every time he tried to pull himself up and get off the ground, he would fall back down. So after this went on for a couple of hours, this church police called the ambulance, and they came and they see the same things. They see the same things that are wrong with Mr. Fowler. She calls 911 and she says, my boyfriend must have ingested something. The first sign that you're going to hear that something was just a little bit off about this whole thing. Now, how does she know that he ingested something? He had all sorts of health problems, pacemaker. He was complaining about illnesses leading up to this. But she immediately tells the police, immediately tells the EMTs that he must have ingested something. She's mostly not able to talk while they're there. They can't get him to stand up. They're holding him up to keep him from falling to the floor. Since he's sitting on the floor, they have to hold him.
Let me tell you something. I know this is going to make me sound away. Welcome. You ain't cheating on me with no pacemaker. The way I would drop some textbooks at the end of a hallway and scare the shit out of you, you're not cheating on me with no pacemaker. And medical issues.
Well, at At some point, he asks about his dog, and at some point, he may have said something about some Percocets.
Cause what?
Now, he was no saint. He already said that he had another girlfriend. He used cocaine from time to time.
And you a crackhead?
But there's not going to be any evidence at all that Mr. Fowler wanted to harm himself, that he was in any way thinking of ending his life, that he had any thoughts of suicide. In fact, in the months leading up to his death, he was concerned about his health. He was trying to figure out what was wrong with him. He thought maybe he had some sort of prostate cancer. So the EMTs are there. They're looking at him. They don't know what's wrong with him. He can't talk to them. He can't tell them what's going on. He can't stand up. He's got no control over his limbs. He's combative. And they just don't know. They don't know what's wrong with him. So off he goes to Anna Jake's hospital, and they start running tests and start taking blood. And honestly, at the beginning, they don't know what's wrong with him either. As it goes on, they start to think he's been poisoned with antifreeze. He has antifreeze in his system. And that's the colloquial way that people talk about ethylene glycol poisoning. Ethylene glycol is a chemical that goes into antifreeze, and it is poisonous to people. Its metabolites, when the body breaks it down, causes your liver to stop, your kidneys to stop working, and then eventually it shut down your brain. You'll hear that those symptoms that I talked about at the beginning, the falling down, not being able to talk, the stomach pains, the groaning, you'll hear that those are all.
That's what I said. He had all that going on. A pacemaker. You did not need to do this with the Powerade, honey.
Now, after he goes to Anna Jake's, they send him off to Mount Auburn in Cambridge, another hospital where they can provide a higher level, hopefully, of care. And you're going to hear from the doctor, one of the doctors who treated him at Mount
Oh, that's
Auburn,
crazy.
that all of the signs that she could see, all the signs that you're going to hear about, the medical terms called an anion gap, osmolar gap, some crystals that are forming in his urine. These are all signs of antifreeze poisoning, of ethylene glycol poisoning. On the 13th, November 13th, so this happened on the 11th, the 911 call, goes to the hospital. On the 13th, Mr. Fowler dies. His brain just stops working as a result of these poisons that are coursing through his body. Police start their investigation. And you'll see that very quickly they focused on this church as their suspect. They started talking to her. They realized that she had told different people different stories about what was going on with Mr. Fowler, in the 24 hours leading up to his death. They had been planning on going to Florida, down that house again. Mr. Fowler was fine on that Thursday, the day before, November 10th. Didn't show any signs of ethylene glycol poisoning. And they start talking to family, they start talking to friends, they start looking at her notebooks, they get into her phone. And they find out that, in fact, Miss Church has threatened in the past to poison Mr. Fowler. In fact, the day that he goes to the hospital, the day that he goes to Mount Auburn, Miss Church told Mr. Fowler's sister, "Oh yeah, that's one of our jokes. I joke about poisoning him. I joke about poisoning his milkshakes." And that's important because the way that you poison somebody with antifreeze, with ethylene glycol, you put it in something sweet. Antifreeze is a sweet tasting substance that can be hidden in sweet drinks. They keep looking. They find more. They find these stories, these diary entries, these notebook entries, where she talks about how bad their relationship is. She talks about how much she hates the other woman, a woman named Barbara Randall. And she refers
Not
to her
Barbara, this is Shirley.
Police, and in her notes, in her notebooks, as a cunt. Over, and I apologize for that word. It's so ugly, but it just shows you exactly what she was thinking about Ms. Randall. about the nature of their relationship. And you're gonna have to read these and you're gonna hear them. Some of them are vile. They really are, the way she talks about it. The police keep investigating, right? They go to her house on November 14th, the day after Mr. Fowler died, and they search that house. And among the items that they find is a Powerade bottle. Now, this is not the Powerade bottle that they found. This is just a representative of it, so I can show it to you. But Mr. Fowler loved his Powerade. He loved his sweet drinks. He loved his milkshakes. Loved his Diet Pepsi. He really had a horrible diet that appears to have consisted almost entirely of sugar. But they found a number of Powerade bottles. One that they found just didn't look right. There was a little tiny bit at the bottom, right? A little bit of tiny liquid left. It just wasn't quite the right color. So they take it, and it goes to the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab for some further testing. And they test it. They test it for fingerprints. They don't find any fingerprints. They test it for DNA. And what they find on the outside of the bottle is that they find Mr. Fowler's DNA, which you would expect if you drank from it. They found Miss Church's DNA on the outside of the bottle, which you might expect because it's her house. And maybe she bought it, maybe she put it in the fridge, maybe she threw it in the trash. But they also tested the mouth of the bottle. And on the mouth of the bottle, where you could only get your DNA by touching the mouth, taking off that cap, they find Mr. Fowler's DNA. They also find Miss Church's DNA on the mouth of the bottle. And why am I talking about a Powerade bottle? Because they then tested the liquid. They tested the liquid that was found inside, that little bit that was left over, and it had antifreeze in it. It had ethylene glycol. So that's going to be the murder weapon. That's the gun. That's the knife. That's the method used to kill Mr. Fowler.
Ma'am.
All the evidence that you're going to hear in this case about
Sharonda, Judy Church, but no Jesus in her, then went up here and took Leroy out. She done took a boyfriend out. She done put antifreeze or de-icer in the man's Powerade bottle and made sure Barbara, if she didn't have his ass, Barbara didn't either. She not only allegedly gave him some de-icer or antifreeze, but she also recorded 13 videos in her phone of him in medical distress before she ever called 911, and then called 911 talking about she thought he might have ingested something. Now, they said she suggested he ingested something where he got a slew of medical problems and a pacemaker to boot. Now, what? Help us, Lord. Help us. Okay. So these are opening statements. This is day one.
how Mr. Fowler died. It's going to be what I'm going to call circumstantial evidence. No one is going to stand up and say, I saw Miss Church put that ethylene glycol, I saw her put that antifreeze in the Powerade. That's not going to happen. No one's going to see, it's not like it's not a shooting or a stabbing where somebody can see what happens. It's all circumstantial evidence. It's all evidence. You're going
And if they try to say, oh, both of them took a swig of that, you know what that is. I'll be making sometimes some of the little what's it called? Little juicy packs for Big Ump. You drink a little bit of the water out of it so you can pour the in it so you can shake it up real good. So she didn't drink some of the Powerade out of it. Lord, Judy.
And there's benefits to that, right? Sometimes it's great if you have somebody come in and say, yeah, I saw somebody shoot somebody, but you have to decide whether that witness is believable, right? But when it's circumstantial evidence, when it's the science, when it's the medical examiner coming in and saying, Mr. Fowler had ethylene glycol in his blood, when it's the chemist coming in and saying, Miss Church's DNA was on the mouth of the bottle. Those aren't things that you need to say was on the mouth of the bottle. Those aren't things that you need to discern, that's the evidence, right? That's what you need to interpret, not what you need to decide the is true or false.
Judy is going to jail.
Fowler had ethylene glycol in his.
Then you recorded this man in distress like
He had
this.
ethylene
Hey,
glycol at the
lady.
club that morning when the 911 call was made. Miss Church was the only person who had access to
Boo.
during the time.
Could have
frame that
bippity
ethylene
boppity booed his
glycol
ass.
effect on the body about
Cheating with a bad heart. She got your nerve.
consumption. She was the only one who said, I'm poisoning him, and there was milkshakes, there was sweet drinks. She told another friend of the family at a bar that summer before his death, if he ever cheats on me, I'll poison him.
Well, we already knew he had Barbara. Now come on, Judy.
Final thing that I want to talk
And
about.
why everything got to be poison? You didn't just say I kill him.
Referenced it, but
You just
I told you
specifically
that we
want to
know
poison.
how Mr. Fowler was acting before that 911 call to me, that he was stumbling around the apartment, that he couldn't get his feet, he couldn't talk. He looks like he's in a lot of pain. Now that's important, one, because of the extreme atrocity and cruelty theory that the judge has talked to you about already. But it's most important because we know that evidence because as Mr. Fowler lay on the floor, moaning, trying to get up, whacking his head, bleeding in Miss Church's bedroom, she sat on the bed and she videotaped it with her iPhone. She videotaped him for a half an hour as he lay on the floor of her bedroom, dying from antifreeze poisoning. She doesn't get up. She doesn't do anything to help him. She waits until he manages to choke out at the end, call 911, call an ambulance. She actually says that and he goes, yes, yes. It's the only words he gets out on that entire 30 minutes of video. She shows him his unopened birthday, she shows the camera his unopened birthday presents.
Just say what now?
Tell me what you took. Knowing full well that antifreeze that she gave him was coursing through his body, killing him as he lay there. You're going to hear from a number of witnesses during the course of this case. Some of them civilians who were friends with these two, some of them family, and some of them the scientists and police officers investigating this case. At the end, I'm going to remind you about all the things that we've talked about here in the course of the openings. And I'm going to ask you to find the church guilty of murder in the first degree.
Thank you, Mr. Camilio. Now you will hear from Mr. Scully on behalf of the defendant, Judy Church.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What you gonna say, Mr. Scully? What can you say to that?
Morning. It's nice to see you all together here after 2 long days of meeting you all individually. All of us, including the defense team in this church, owe you a great deal of gratitude. So thank you for agreeing to be the jurors on her trial. This trial has been a long time coming. This is her date in court. You are her jurors. And as the clerk, when she swore you in, eloquently said, you are her country. Now, you've all set aside your lives, all the important things that you're doing, to come here every day on our schedule, to sit patiently, to listen, to keep an open
This judge's
mind,
face is hilarious.
evaluate evidence, to deliberate when the time comes, and to reach a verdict. And no matter what that verdict is, we all owe you the same debt of gratitude. But I suggest the verdict will be not guilty. Now, the evidence that's going to come in over the next
I'm about to be done. I'm about to know, sir.
is a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. It's not all on a timeline. Witnesses come in and testify, documents get introduced, photographs get introduced, videos get played, audios get heard. And each piece of evidence represents or is similar to a piece of the puzzle that the prosecution is trying to put together. And you, at the end of the day, are going to decide, do the pieces fit the way they say or not? Are there pieces they try to jam in that don't fit? And are there pieces that do fit but are the wrong color or otherwise don't make sense? And that's why it's essential to keep an open mind throughout the whole process until you get a good look at the entire puzzle that is this case. Now, Judy Church, way over here. We've all had barely a chance to look at her. She comes before you now, 67 years old. She was then, in 2022, 64 years old. You will learn that she's originally from Bedford, Massachusetts, that she's one of 4 sisters, that her father, Donald, was a Navy man and a firefighter, that her mother, Jean, was a mom, a bookkeeper, with Blue Ribbon Dairy. You will learn that Judy
Oh, this is
went to high
giving me
school,
Sheila
graduated,
A.G.
worked as a waitress, and put herself through
Adelson
college.
vibes.
And that she eventually went to, got a degree, a bachelor's degree in education from Framingham State College. In 1988, she got a job as a school teacher at the Howe Manning Elementary School. In 1988, as a 3rd grade teacher. She taught in the 3rd grade for 1 year, and then she taught in the 4th grade for 30 years in a row. Same classroom, same school. And then she retired. Along the way, she got married. Her first husband, her only husband, Rusty. They had a son, Douglas. And in 2002, they moved to Salisbury, where this drama that is this trial starts to unfold, but not back then. They buy a house, and they move to Salisbury so Douglas could attend the Vo-Tech school. And they live together as a family, and they grow up, and they continue on. In 2012, Judy is 54 years old. Leroy Fowler comes onto the scene. He's 45 years old. He's a loose friend of the family. Rusty likes to ride motorcycles. Leroy likes to ride motorcycles. Judy likes to ride on the back of motorcycles. And they get to know each other through that circumstance. Leroy is in a relationship at that time with a woman named Julie Hawkins, mother of Michael Hawkins, who's a witness in this case. Julie Hawkins is also described as like a second mother to Leroy Jr. So Leroy has this family, Julie Hawkins, Leroy his son, and Michael Hawkins, his stepson. But he leaves that family, and he looks for a place to live, Leroy. And he becomes a tenant at the home of Judy Church and Rusty. And this is where the relationship between Judy Church and Leroy Fowler starts to happen, comes to fruition.
Up in Rusty
They're
house.
friends, they're in the same place. He's a lot younger, as you've heard. And he rides a motorcycle, and at that time he's a construction worker, and he's a vibrant guy, and he represents some youth to Judy. They start hanging around too much.
We're
maybe,
Denver. He sleeps
and
still.
then they fall in love, and a romance blossoms. Judy's still living in the house with her husband, and Leroy is in the house with them in a different unit. Husband Rusty finds out, and Judy and Leroy leave the house. Judy leaves her marriage. She's in love with Leroy Fowler.
Oh,
Give up her old life in search of something a little younger, a little newer, a little more exciting, something that's enticing. Now, this starts what I would suggest is a honeymoon phase between them. And that lasts for a while. What do? They buy a house. Actually, Judy buys a house. 108 Central Ave in Salisbury.
real quick. Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? Leroy is Judy and Rusty friend. Rusty was Judy's husband, okay? Judy and Rusty in their house. Leroy and Julie, his wife, in their house. They live in separate lives, but Leroy and Rusty ride motorcycles together, and she like to hop on the back of them. Well, at some point, Leroy decides to leave his family, but he leave his family with nowhere to go. Medical issues and nowhere to go, and end up moving into a unit or into the house with Rusty and Judy. Now, she was not 45. He was 45 when they met. So Leroy done left his family to go be a roommate up in Rusty and Judy's house. And while he living in that man's house, he started messing with that man's wife. Now, this fool done fell in love with the broke bum that's roommating up in the house and done left his family, and she get caught by Rusty and leave her family too, and now they are buying a house. Where Rusty at? Rusty should get to go upside her head. And look at her face. She looked like the leprechaun. Wasn't yesterday St. Patrick's Day? She looked like Judy. Judy then took Julie, man, and got the nerve to have a problem with Barbara. Judy, your grandma ain't tell you lose people the same way you get them. Child, now they buying the house. I'll just make sure we got it all together. They done invited this man up in Rusty house. She just started messing with him up in Rusty house. And since she was 54 and he was 45, she started feeling real young. But now you look real old and he dead.
And they move in together. And it's a fixer-upper. It's where this all happens. Judy and Leroy eventually move into the top floor. Douglas, Judy's son, moves into the bottom floor. And there's a cottage with some tenants in the back. These tenants don't really have any factual connection to this case. But there they are. And Judy and Leroy build a life together, a new life, and it's exciting. And they have fun. They go on motorcycle rides. They buy a dog together named Salt, who joins the other dog already owned by Leroy. They work on this fixer-upper all the time, and it's its own entity within their lives. And things are good. And it takes a while.
Then she got old.
It takes about 3 years. And then someone comes on the scene that dramatically changes that. And the honeymoon period comes to an end. Leroy Fowler meets a woman named Barbara Randall. Barbara Randall is younger than Judy by almost 5 years. And he begins an affair with Barbara Randall. He starts to see her on the side. Judy finds out about it, and she is heartbroken, and she is angry at Barbara and at Leroy. And she wants Leroy to stop. But he doesn't. He refuses to stop. And so what emerges, and this is now in 2017, 2018, okay? Years earlier, in 2022, where Leroy Fowler dies. What emerges in 2018 is a love triangle that Leroy Fowler has stuck these two women in, and neither one of them like it, and neither one of them like each other. Judy refers to Barbara as the C word. Barbara refers to Judy as grandma. Constantly, whenever she's talking and texting with Leroy, why don't you go home with grandma? You don't want to be with me. Leroy would. And so he creates this dynamic that goes on for years with these two women. Neither one of them want it, but he imposes it on them. And over time, they accept it. And those journal entries and that anger in the phone and in the journals, many of those were written in that era. When Judy was really mad, and she would pick up the pen or get on her phone, and to channel her anger, she would put it all into those places. Get it out of her system. I hate you, I'm mad at you, whatever it said. That's a good place to do it. But then every time Leroy came home, she took him back. Now, over time, her plan became, I'm going to be the last woman standing. I taught in the same classroom for 30 years. I'm not leaving this guy who I love. I'm not giving up on him, even though it hurts, even though I don't like it. And so she decides, I'm sticking this through. And this goes on for years. And in fact, Leroy always comes back, and he lives with Judy. That's who he lives with. And over time, that bizarre love triangle kind of normalizes. It's not good. Leroy might like it.
She's gonna be the last one standing if it kills her.
But it gets
Kills him.
until 2022.
Oh, called her grandma.
2022 is the exact opposite of what prosecution has tried to lay out for you and is backbone of their case. 2022 is really the year for Judy because Leroy is getting tired of Barbara and he's getting ready to leave her. And he's going to stay with Judy. And we know this because in 2021 in December, they get in Judy's Jeep and they drive together to Florida. They're both getting older now. Leroy's health isn't doing so good. You heard references to pacemakers. He's got other issues coming on the scene. He's not doing great. He's out of work now. He's on SSDI. He's got some food stamps. So he's not the young guy he was, the swashbuckler on the motorcycle when he first met Judy. But he's her guy. So they drive to Florida and they shop for a home. See if they can find a house to live. They're going to move and get a new start on life and leave Salisbury and leave drugs and leave alcohol and leave other things and leave Barbara behind and give it a new go. Build a new house like the first house they built. See if they get the little magic of the honeymoon period back. And Judy buys them a house. She buys them a house, which is a trailer house. She pays cash out of her savings, $111,000. And she puts it in his name. That's the guy she hates and wants to kill. She puts that house in his name and they buy it. And they live in that house in Florida in 2022, January, February, and March. Right? They live there. And they make a plan to come back to this Florida house that they called their Forever house. And Judy also bought Leroy a truck, a black Dodge Ram truck, new to him, used for $13,000, and put it in his name so that he could have that to help them move back and forth. The house was in both their names. Both their names, right? Their dream. Now, they get back to Salisbury, and of course, the plan is to get organized and get back down to Florida. You arrive here in New England in the spring, it leads to the summer, and they're still sort of dallying with this idea. There's this plan to go, but the plan doesn't get quite put in motion. But it's still a plan. So throughout the spring into the summer, it's still a plan between Judy and Leroy to go. And then the plan becomes to go. that weekend that Leroy dies. So on November 5th, 2022, Leroy sends a text message to Barbara, breaks up with her, says it's over. I'm packed, the trailer is packed, and I'm moving to Florida with Judy. That's November 5th, right? Judy has won, if it's a competition, right? Judy has her man at long last. She has the home they're gonna go to, and they're going within days. It's just a matter of the final packing arrangements. Winter is coming, it's getting colder, and they're going to Florida to live. So how could her motive be to kill him then? They're stringing this motive from all kinds of stuff, little jokes taken out of context that are off color, old entries from journals, stray text messages, trying to cobble them together. But they don't fit. They don't fit. These two are going to Florida that weekend.
Either that don't matter whether you a young
So,
304 or an old one.
the early morning,
Young and giving that
Leroy
man with no job your car to take you to work.
is he
Jesus.
has a room, that's sort of the man room on one end of the house. Judy's got the bedroom that's hers and his on the other end of the house, and the living space is in between. At some point in the early morning, Leroy, it's his birthday, comes down the hall to visit with Judy. They've been texting each other all night, even though they're not far away. And there's no animosity between them in those text messages. They're about sex. And he comes down the hall, and in the bedroom, he's not doing well, right? He starts to fall out of bed. He falls down. He's becoming less and less coherent. He's not looking good. And she's asking, what did you take, Leroy? What did you take? By this time, he's a cocaine addict, heavy user. He's also a Percocet abuser. And maybe other things. But she doesn't know. So she's saying, what did you do, Leroy? What did you take? And she's filming him for the purpose of educating him. For this is what you're doing to yourself, whatever it is. And on the film, she asks, can I call 911? Can I call 911? And eventually he says yes. And she does. She's the one who calls 911 and says, my boyfriend ingested something, and she gives specific directions as to how to get into the house. Now, the EMTs arrive, and they observe Leroy and try to find out what happened.
Yes,
There's something that
Sandra.
Leroy doesn't say. He doesn't say she did something to me, or he doesn't say I've been poisoned. He says, I took 10 perks, 10 Percocets. It doesn't seem from the labs that get them later like he did take 10 Percocets. At least they didn't seem to appear in his system. But the point isn't whether he took them or not. The point is, that's his time to say, I think she did something to me. But of course he didn't do that, because she didn't do anything. He knew it. Now what happens is, there's what emerges is what I'll loosely term a conspiracy theory. The police talked to Michael Hawkins, son of Julie Hawkins. They talked to Leroy Fowler's son, Leroy, Julie Hawkins' second son. They talked to Tammy Carbone. They talked to Barbara Randall, right? And then out of the woodwork, 2 years later, that friend who says he had a conversation in the bar with Judy, who said, I'll poison her if she cheats on me, right? That's John Haywood. He comes forward 2 years later. He's Leroy's first cousin. These are the civilian witnesses you're going to hear from. And they all throw shade at Judy, right? They're all picking, oh, this piece of little evidence, or she said this once, or I have this text message, or I swear Leroy said this to me, even though Leroy's not around, right? And this becomes foundation of the prosecution case. These things from these people. And they're admittedly hurt, angry, upset, confused, looking for answers, but they get the wrong answers by pointing the finger at her.
These videos were for educational
And that
purposes.
gets demonstrated through the science and the math of this case. Basic science and basic math. Lawyers don't go to law school because they're good at math and science, right? So the police go eventually and they search Judy Church's home and they find this bottle, which is not this exact bottle, but this is a replica of the bottle, okay? Exact bottle should come in as an exhibit, as will many photographs. And it's a red Powerade fruit punch drink. It is known to be, by family members who tell the police, this is Leroy's, one of his favorite drinks. This is one of his favorite drinks. And it's in a clear plastic bottle. And in the bottom of it is not something that doesn't look right. In the bottom of it is something that's bright orange, a bright orange liquid. Bright orange liquid. In the bottle of what's in the bottom of what's supposed to be red powder. What they're trying to suggest is that Judy Church somehow slipped in this invisible, sweet-tasting ethylene glycol from antifreeze, and then he drank it all and didn't know it. Then came down the hallway and didn't know that he had just drank something poison, even when he talked to the EMTs. That's what they're trying to suggest. Well, they're trying to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. So now there's this clear plastic bottle, supposed to have red fruit punch in it, his favorite drink, and it's got orange, something orange in it. The police see it, they test it, right? And it comes back positive for ethylene glycol.
She looked like the leopard.
Possibly referred to it as antifreeze,
St. Patrick's Day.
common ingredient. And left to itself, that is a sweet-tasting ingredient, ethylene glycol, by itself. But there's a Massachusetts general law that requires that when these products are sold in Massachusetts, and there's others in other states, that antifreeze and other things that use ethylene glycol have to have a bittering agent in it to alert people, right? So if there's not an accidental consumption or something like that. Doesn't mean you wouldn't be able to chug it down if you were determined, but you would be alerted to its presence. They don't test for it, ever, even now. But the defense does. We hire a lab and say, hey, we have a test for this bittering agent. Was it in there? And they do the testing and they find, yes, it was. The bittering agent was in substance. So now you've got the clear plastic bottle, supposed to have red liquid in it, has bright orange liquid in it, seems to have has the ethylene glycol in it from some source, probably antifreeze, and has the bittering agent. That's the basic science. Bittering agent of denatonium benzoate. Now, the math of it is essentially that based on the amount of ethylene glycol in Leroy Fowler's blood, and based on the concentration of it in
Was there anything perky in his blood?
it appears that he would have had to have drank about 3 bottles of that stuff to put himself in the state that he was in. And that's just the math of it. So these are the questions that exonerate Judy Church. Now, what happened to Leroy? What happened to Leroy, right? Well, you guys might be in the best position of all to get good insight into that. You're going to hear from all these witnesses and get a chance to evaluate all the evidence. And you might figure it out or have good ideas about it. Or you might not. You might not figure it out because that's not your mission. Your mission isn't to find out, well, what did happen to Leroy? Your mission is much narrower and much clearer. Have they proved beyond a reasonable doubt that she murdered him? That's your mission. Now, when Leroy died, So did all of Judy's dreams to go to Florida. So did many of her relationships, including a valuable one with Tammy Carbone, Leroy's sister-in-law, and other people. She got accused, and now she stands alone to defend herself. But Judy Church is not a murderer. She's a lot of things. She's a daughter, sister, a mom, teacher, an educator, an ex-wife, girlfriend, bit of a fool. She's not a murderer. At the end of this trial, the defense will have another chance to address you all, and by then, the jigsaw puzzle will be finished. And it will be missing pieces, and at least one of those pieces is going to be the wrong color. Orange, bright orange. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scully. Mr. Camilli, are you prepared to start with your first witness, or? All right. Let's take the break at about 11, but let's get going with the first witness. Thank you.
I'm roll call Monica Carnes.
If anybody would like to stand up and stretch for a moment before our first witness.
Real quick. How we feeling after these opening statements? The case gone to jury for Afro Man. How do we feel about these opening statements? They saying she took him out because he was dealing with Barbara. The defense say, hey, he been dealing with Barbara and she was going to be the last woman standing, and was. And he liked to get a bit perky with the booger sugar on top. The videos, that wasn't her just watching him in distress. This was educational purposes only. So he can see what he be out here looking like. Let's get back to the trial. Oh, y'all picked this one. I don't want to hear no Miss J, what you got me watching. Y'all picked this shit.
Good morning, ma'am. It's a nice loud voice. Could you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name?
Sure. My name is Monica Carnes, Carnes.
Hey, ma'am, where do you work?
Salisbury, Massachusetts Police Department.
How long have you worked for the Salisbury Police Department, ma'am?
Approximately 23 years.
And what is your current job position with the Salisbury Police Department?
I'm the dispatch coordinator.
What does that mean?
I basically run dispatch.
So just for, it might be obvious, but what's dispatch? What's that do?
So we have 2 minimum dispatchers per shift. We answer 911, handle both police and fire calls.
Okay. And so if a 911 call comes in or another call comes in, you would connect that to the right person or send out people to respond to those types of calls?
We usually send it out. The only thing we really send out is medical calls. We'll transfer it to Atlantic Ambulance. They give emergency medical instructions. They're called EMD instructions. And the rest of the stuff we handle dispatch, both police and fire internally.
All right. And how long have you been doing this particular job?
23 years.
Okay. And are you a civilian or are you a police officer?
Civilian,
And is this full-time job or part-time?
full-time job.
Do you have a particular shift that you usually work?
It's a 4 and 2 rotation, so I work 4 days on, 2 days off, and they're usually between the hours of 7 and 3.
7 a.m. to 3 p.m.?
7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sorry.
Now, at the Salisbury Police Department, when a call comes in, is that call recorded?
So it depends on what line it's on. If it's on the 911 line, it is recorded. If it's on the regular business lines, it is not recorded.
Those calls are just kept in the ordinary course of business by the Salisbury Police Department?
Yes, we have a 911 recorder that handles the recording, housing the recording of the 911 calls.
All right. Now, I want to take you back to November 11th, 2022. Were you working on that day?
I was.
Were you working a normal 7 to 3 shift?
I was.
Were you working with anybody else that day?
Scarlett Smith, she was my co-dispatcher at that day.
Now, few minutes after 8 a.m. that morning, did you take a phone call regarding a medical issue?
I did.
This call was recorded, is that right?
It was.
And approximately how long you stayed on the line with the call?
I'm not sure. I'd say approximately a minute.
Okay. And at the conclusion of your conversation with the call, did you do anything with the call? Send it anywhere else?
Yes, I sent it to Atlantic Ambulance for pre-arrival medical instructions or EMG protocols.
Um, May I show you a CD and just ask you, that the 911 call was, copy of the 911 call was placed on this CD for this trial?
Yep.
Your Honor, I have this as
Any objection? No. Okay, maybe it is.
we have it already preloaded, so we can just play it with the court's permission.
May?
49. Salt Lake Police and Fire Line City Court of Order, emergency. Yes, 108 Central Ave, we need an ambulance. What's going on there? I don't know, my boyfriend, must have ingested something, and he can't stand, and I can't help him, and he's torn the bedroom apart trying to stand. Now his nose is bleeding, and he told me call the ambulance. Okay, is he having abdominal pain or just difficulty standing? Well, it sounds like he's in pain. Yeah, well, he's in pain because he's hit everything in his bedroom. Okay. Is there an apartment number 108? Yeah, you have to come up the ramp to the first set of stairs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is transfer you to Atlantic Ambulance. They're just giving you pre-arrival instructions if this is delaying anyone, okay? Okay, we don't want to go. We're not going to do you hear me?
Ambulance.
And then I can tell you, I'm call for a transfer phone call, just confirm the address and phone number, so.
Call the address of the emergency.
108 Central Ave, second floor. Just to come up the
Everything.
ramp up towards the beach and take the first set of stairs. I'll wait for you.
All right, repeat
Like
that
she's
address of the location,
Like
please.
she's not the least bit.
108 Central Ave.
That's the ramp, towards the beach.
Yes.
November 11, 2022, 8:04:23. November 11.
Now, was that an accurate transcript or excuse me, an accurate recording of the 911 call that you participated in that morning?
Yes.
And
Like a stewardess or something. Like she making a doctor's appointment, right?
Dispatch any police officer or firefighter to go to that scene as well.
I dispatched. I advised the supervisor on duty that my partner was toning out for the fire department. So what I would say, I kind of say what I would normally say. Okay. So what I would normally say is control to whichever my supervisor is, that be advised that fire and ambulance are responding to such and such address for a medical. In this case, I said that they're responding to 108 Central Ave for a medical aid. Calling party reports that she believes her boyfriend ingested something, was, I believe, my wording.
And was that the end of your involvement with that 911 call that morning?
It was my end of involvement with the 911 call itself, yes, not the call. I was still having officers call and clear, so I was still handling normal dispatch things.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Narcoons?
Just very briefly, Ron. Morning, ma'am.
Morning.
So the caller.
She's a miracle.
The address, right?
Correct.
And then identified themselves as well, had that gave a name for you,
On the recording, she didn't give her name to me.
and then you, at that point in time, have made a determination that there should be emergency medical personnel going, right?
Correct.
it's a standard practice that both the fire and the ambulance would go.
It can be. It's up to the police supervisor whether or not he wants to send a medical call. That they make, sometimes they go, sometimes they don't. If they're busy on the police side, they don't always go.
And the fire themselves, EMTs,
The fire department is EMTs.
and they would be the first responders relative to that. The statement that she gave to you, she believed he had been falling, right?
Yes.
And may have hurt himself, and that he was ingesting something is what she thought had taken place, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. I need to redirect Mr. Smith. You may step down.
Thank you.
Want to do one more, Doug, or you want to?
Is the next one quick as well?
Not quite that quick, but
We'll take the break now after the witnesses step down. I'll just, jurors, just, you heard me ask if there was any redirect, just so you understand the rules. Each side gets 2 rounds of questions for questioning. So the party that calls the witness does the direct examination, the other party is cross-examination. You have to follow up by the party that calls the witness called redirect, and then there's recross. Here you didn't see any redirect or recross, it's unnecessary, but you may see much of that during the trial, and then the questioning ends after that second round. So you know that. Anyway. So we're going to take the morning recess now. Let's take 20 minutes now, and we'll reconvene in the conference with the presentation.
All right.
All right, guys. So we are going to scoot this up a bit because I don't believe we were live. All right. So what do we think about these opening statements? So we have turned into, or we started with so the state is basically saying that Judy Church was being cheated on, didn't like being cheated on, did not leave, but she felt like you gonna act right even if it kills you. So the state of Massachusetts, so the Commonwealth, is actually alleging that she didn't put that shit in his Powerade bottle, let him drink it, watched him flop around like a fish out of water, recorded him flopping around like a fish out of water. And then when he got so bad that he said, call somebody, she called 911 for him. But her defense attorney is saying, no, you got it all wrong. She was a dead set, hell bent, come hell or high water. She was going to be with that man, and they was already on their way to their Florida home. They was leaving that weekend when he died, but he had a perky appetite for booger sugar and other things. This man said he was perky to the tune of 10 of them. But that don't break down to ethylene glycol in your system, do it? I think the only thing that I'm hung up on is I actually believe the defense attorney. I believe everything that man said down to till he got to the last part. I believe everything he said. Just because of how everything went. She watched that man be friends with her husband, leave his family, come be a roommate in her husband's house, start messing with that man with her husband still in the house. And when she get caught up about it, she leave her family too. Oh, they was two in the same. They was 2 peas in the pie. Y'all just leave y'all family and just run off with each other. And said, what it said, she was 54, he was 45. She wanted to be on the back of them damn motorcycles, but then she started getting old. So she wasn't a cougar no more. He go get grandma, who 5 years younger than her. I mean, he go get Barbara, who was 5 years younger than her. Barbara calling Judy grandma. Grandma then decided she ain't going nowhere. She gonna be the last one standing, and literally stood on that dumbass business from 2017 to 2022. And when that man started getting irritated with Barbara, when Barbara started getting on Leroy nerves, she go and buy a Flo Ever home, go to Florida and buy them somewhere to live, put it in his name and buy him a truck so he can move their stuff back and forth. So as long as Barbara was on his nerves, she was excited. Now they're trying to say that the notebooks of the I hate you and I'm tired of being alone and all that other stuff was from when he first started dealing with Barbara. That's before she made the commitment to stand on I'm gonna be the last woman standing. I like what in the now listen, I'm not gonna lie. And shout out to my Bali. I called her Bali. Today would have been my what would it have been? Hold on. Let me see. Ooh, it would have been 94 years today. Yeah, Sharonda, they was missing first. The girl's supposed to go to an appointment, right? Was she supposed to deliver the baby or something? She's supposed to go to the doctor's appointment. She never showed up at the doctor's appointment. Her mama was waiting for her at the doctor's appointment, and they kept trying. They didn't find her for a while, and then they end up finding the car later. Bad drug deal, right? I think that's what you're talking about. I think. But my great grandmother, I ain't gonna lie to you, back in maybe 2000. Ooh, no, late 90s. My great grandmother had an aneurysm. Middle of winter, Columbus, Ohio, coming home from playing her numbers. Now, what saved her was middle of the winter, Columbus, Ohio, because she literally passed out as she was walking home, fell out in the snow, and because her head was in the cold, it kind of froze everything or stopped everything from moving. All right. So once she had her surgery, she did suffer a stroke on the table, and then that paralyzed her whole left side. So probably all through high school. Yeah, probably about my 9th grade year. So all through high school up until the year I moved to Arizona in 2014, she stayed in a nursing home. Okay. Now, even paralyzed on her whole left side, she had 2 boyfriends in that nursing home is what I'm getting at. Okay. If you don't understand that the old folks is worse than 9th graders playing hide and go get it, let me tell you something. So when I see these 60-year-old people talking about who the side chick and hey Judy, this is like, hey Barbara, this is Judy. Yeah, I believe it's everything that this defense attorney is saying it was. Okay. Yes, and that's the crazy. So this is the great grandma who is who is Aunt Wanda, Aunt Diane, Uncle Wills. This is their mom, and she was a twin. So it was Elvira and Ira. It was her brother. They were twins, and then Aunt Wanda and Uncle Will are twins. So she's a twin who had a set of twins. So, but what I'm saying is, shout out Bali, happy birthday, happy heavenly birthday. But I know for a fact from all those years of me going from high school all the way up to when she passed in 2015, 2014, 2013. She passed in 2013. I left in 2014. That nursing home, they was getting it. Okay. I remember going to see my Bali, and there was one man standing by her, bringing her something to eat, and the other man was sitting at the end of the hallway, mugging all of us. They were beefing over. Okay. She was in a wheelchair. Jesus. But Bali was off the hook. If y'all want to know exactly how Bali was, Tiffany. They always call Tiffany Lil Elvira because that eye roll, that foot swinging, oh, she was a cusser. Okay. I don't think she was a cusser. And Yanti is the only person I can say is close to it, but she was a cusser. It's not even that. I'll say I had my first little tiff real quick. I'll say I had my first little tiff probably about second grade, third grade, you know, where you come home and you and your little friend fall out. And my great grandma's advice when I got home was a good dog never backtracks, and one who does is a bitch chasing the tail. That's how she talked to us. So that's why. So when I say she was a cusser, okay, it wasn't no sugar, nothing. It wasn't even salt on the rim. It was straight no chaser, okay? Always. Okay? Always. And baby, so when he said that these old people had a I'm first, you second, the side chick calling this one grandma, and they going back and forth, and grandma ain't leaving, she's sticking beside him, and Leroy out here acting a fool with a pacemaker, I believe every last piece of it. Out here messing with substances like you ain't already shutting down. I believe all of it. Too old to be acting like this, but honestly, they seem to get worse when they get older and don't go up in them nursing homes because them numbers for them S&T and I's be looking worse than some high schoolers. I swear to you. I swear to you. I've never seen nothing like it in my life, but I believe everything that he said unless they can show me some other videos, I don't believe those videos were for educational purposes. Now, depending on what you believe about her, and I guess we'll get to that in the testimony because we ain't heard none yet. You can either believe that she did something to him and she was like, yeah, I'm going to show you later that I can get your ass. See, keep fucking with me. Or she was like, you keep doing shit and I got to keep cleaning your shit up. This is what you look like after you do that shit with your old ass. You're too old to be messing with that shit. So whether you believe she was doing it to in a sick way, be able to see she got one over him, and then, or whether she just knew, how you just with a crackhead? You done left your husband and your kids for a crackhead that done left his family, ain't got nowhere to go, and it looked like you keep providing a place for him to stay and the cars. What? What? Who church don't do fish fries? Churches do fish fries. He wasn't the only one. Who else had what? It wasn't Leno. Was it Letterman? Was all up in the Social Security ages and was having kids. Al Pacino got a lot of baby mamas. Old school fish fry. Do the fish fry. Everybody do church fish fry. Uh-oh. I honestly didn't know there weren't any, because even out here when they say that Arizona, a lot of people like to believe that Arizona lacks culture. There are a lot of big mega churches out here though, but they do fish fries. That's making me want some fish. Yeah, I took my whole my deep fryers and put them outside in the grill. I hate frying in the house. Frying fish, chicken, anything. I just hate the smell of grease in the house. It drives me crazy. So I'm frying outside. Yeah, once they get past a certain age, you can't tell them nothing. Anybody else raising parents right now? Anybody else? That's bad. I figured it out. The reason why we are so stressed trying to raise parents, one, they don't listen. Two, they way more hard-headed than they ever said we was. And three, they out here messing with technology and don't know what they're doing. And most importantly, we can't whoop them. We can't whoop. If we can whoop I guarantee we wouldn't be this frustrated. Raising my mama is so ghetto. Raising Tiffany's mama is so ghetto. If you raising parents right now, God bless you. God bless you. This is why we got to get on here and talk to each other and watch court and stuff. We got to see something that's worse than what we're going through. Because at least my mama ain't Leroy and Judy now. But raising parents is so ghetto. It is the ghetto. Don't answer the phone. Lord have mercy. I remember one day I was calling my mama for 3 days. I mean, for 3 hours straight. My sisters, y'all know my mom is in Ohio. I'm all the way in Arizona. Both sisters then called me telling me, well, you talk to her the most. You ain't talked to her? No, I ain't talked to her. You around the corner? They go over there. She ain't answer the door. Both her cars is there. Mom, what are you doing? Do you know what she was? Sleep.
Is that law enforcement or not?
Sorry?
Is that law enforcement?
Firefighter.
Firefighter.
EMT.
Sleep. Talking about she went out last night. Why are you outside when I'm in the bed? Come on, Mom. She about to get an air tag. With Pawpaw, with Q's grandfather, we had to hide the keys because he was gone.
Yes,
He was
thank
down
you.
at the senior center pimping.
All right, pretty good.
Ooh, lawyer by heart. I can't imagine when Dallas get to a certain age and then my mama get to a certain. No, help me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus.
Be seated.
Dang. Okay.
Mr. Chameleon.
Adam Foss.
That's my grandma. That's my grandma. We were so mad. We tried to make her wear a different wig for that wedding, and she went right back in there and put the other one on. I said we should have took it. We should have took it and hid it. We should have threw it away on trash day. And then we let the little cousins take her to get a wig, and she's bought the same one in a different color. Why are y'all not paying attention?
Raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the cause now and hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning, sir. A nice loud voice. Could you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name?
Good morning, Adam Foss, last name's Foss.
Sir, what do you do for work?
I'm a firefighter,
And how long have you been a firefighter, sir?
21 years.
And where are you a firefighter?
Salisbury, Massachusetts.
Okay. Have you been in Salisbury your entire career?
I have.
What is your current rank?
I'm a lieutenant.
And as a lieutenant with the firefighter, fire department, obviously, you guys fight fires, but what are your particular duties and responsibilities?
So as a lieutenant, I'm in charge of my shift and the people that work with me on a day-to-day basis. We respond to a majority of calls are, medical aids, motor vehicle accidents, house fires, as you mentioned, everything from a stub toe to a cardiac arrest.
Okay. And in addition to your training, your training to fight fires, do you have any medical training?
I do. I am a basic EMT, which means I provide basic life support services.
Okay. And how long have you been qualified as an EMT?
I pretty much, I think 2004. I got it right before getting hired as a firefighter.
When a call for medical assistance comes in and you're notified, how do you and the fire department respond to a call like that?
So it'll go through our dispatch center. They'll send out a tone, let us know what the nature of the call is, if they have a nature of the call. Otherwise, it's just a medical aid request, give us a location. We respond in the fire engine. We're a class 5 fire engine, which means that we respond to all medical aid calls, but we don't transport.
All right. Now, when you go out to these types of calls, so do you usually go by yourself, or are you usually with anybody else?
Well, myself and my crew, there's either 3 or 4 of us in the engine. Police sometimes respond depending on the nature of the call and location. And then we also have a private ambulance service that provides transportation for patients. That's Cataldo/Atlantic.
Okay. Now, sir, I want to take you back to November 11th, 2022. Were you working on that day?
Yes.
And do you have a particular shift that you work, or do you work 24 hours, or how does that work?
So we work 24-hour shifts. I'm trying to remember at that point. I had been a lieutenant for a few years. I think we kind of had a mixed shift that day. Not the group I'm working with now, but yeah, we work 24-hour shifts, 1 on, 2 off, 1 on, and 4 off.
Okay. Now, at a little bit after 8 o'clock that morning, around 8:02, 8:05, did you respond to a location in Salisbury for a report of a medical call or medical assistance?
Yes.
Okay, you remember what that address was?
I didn't really write it down. They come in, they go out, I'll respond to a ton of calls. So.
Refresh your memory. I said 108 Central.
Central, yes.
When you responded to the call, were you coming from the fire station, fire department?
I believe so. I don't. Sometimes we run from one call to the next. I believe we responded from the firehouse.
And you were able to arrive on scene how quickly after the notification?
Rather quickly. I don't have the notes in front of me, but usually response times are within like 5 to 6 minutes.
So when you arrive at 108 Central, what do you do? Were you the first one on scene, or were other people already there when you got there?
Actually, I believe police was on scene first, and I believe it was a number of units all in one building. So he was checking the rear unit first, and then we came to the building or the structure that was closest to the street, knocked on the door, and went into there. So I think we had actually entered the building first, but police were on scene trying to figure out where we were going.
Okay. So when you entered the building, what did you first notice when you entered the building?
A lot of clutter. Just kind of stuff everywhere. I mean, we come across that quite often, honestly, but just a lot of stuff like we walk through, on the countertops. We worked our way through and then to a bedroom.
And when you got to the bedroom, did you see somebody that looked like they were in some form of medical distress?
Yep, there was an individual seated on the ground next to, I believe it was a bed, and just really unable to, communicate with us.
This Salisbury is a fairly small town. Did you know the individual when you saw him?
I did not.
You learned his name to be Leroy Fowler?
Correct.
And so you said that your initial observation of Mr. Fowler was he was sitting on the floor in the bedroom.
Yes.
Okay. What else as you approached and got closer and started to render some aid, what else did you notice?
He wasn't able to communicate with us. Typically we respond to a medical aid call. We'll try to ask a series of questions, establish, is he baseline, obviously conscious, alert, breathing, all the basics, and then we get into like history and what the chief complaint is, why we're there. Unable to answer any of that, just kind of moaning, groaning, no words, no sentences. So we really couldn't get any history from him.
Did you try to stand up while you were there in the room with him?
He was making like involuntary movements, reaching out, trying to grab stuff. He was, even though he was seated, he was kind of uneasy. At one point, I kneeled down beside him just to steady him, and tried to like make eye contact and get more information. But again, we were unable to.
So that time that you were in the bedroom, he wasn't able to communicate with you at all.
No, just noises.
Now, you mentioned that there was a police officer there who responded, and Lieutenant Delaria, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And you may know, I'm sure you know now, that Salisbury police officers wear body cams when they respond to calls like this. Is that correct?
Correct.
You had an opportunity to watch the body cam footage of your response to 108 Central on November 11th, 2022, sort of preparation for your testimony here today?
I did.
Show us the footage. She already sounded like y'all said she was making a doc.
I'd offer that body cam.
Okay. Maybe admitted as exhibit 2.
And with court permission, we're going to play what's now the mark as exhibit 2, starting at about the 3-minute and 15 mark, just to cut out the officer's travel time driving his car to the call.
Is there a ramp over here? Yeah, is there a ramp? No. Well, there's no answer to the door. Hello? 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 Set up the ramp. No. No, they said up the ramp, which I would assume is this one. Can you call it back? We're getting no answer to those. It's a big hippo. When you open this door, head's like this big, just looking at me.
This is all attached.
Yeah, this is the. Is that what
Can we call for the fire department?
Someone in there?
Hello?
We're able to raise her. What the fuck happened in there? Susan, clean.
What's going on?
That's amazing. She never went outside.
And, he said, I fell like 3 times. Yeah, my leg hurt. So I helped him to the bathroom. And he just bounced me off every wall it was. Leroy?
Leroy!
I'll get you.
Leroy! Leroy! What's going on, bud? Hey. What's going on today?
He hasn't just something. I don't know how.
He's got a careful.
Working in the house all day yesterday. So that's my thought. I mean, it's not ever like this.
Leroy!
Leroy. Oh, it's dad. It's like a seizure maybe?
When's the last time you saw him, like, normal?
Yesterday,
Yesterday,
last night.
last night. So today, you guys woke up,
Should I just say gloves? Sorry.
And, watching TV and whatever. And, to my knowledge, he did not have any drugs on him.
Even like marijuana or anything like that? Anything? Gummies, stuff like that?
What's that?
Like gummies and like.
No, definitely not. This looks like.
You can say no, he don't do
Okay.
that. He don't do something.
I've seen it before. Yes, I've seen this.
Reaction to, okay. You okay, bud?
Leroy! Leroy!
Hey, but I can't say it. I don't even know where we would have gotten. You know, working around the yard all day yesterday.
Okay, alright.
You haven't been complaining of anything? Headache, dizziness?
Well, he was easy yesterday, doing work. He looks more than he
He
should.
didn't pass the stage.
Chest pain, complaining of chest pain,
Yeah.
shortness of breath, and
Yeah.
cough.
He wouldn't tell you.
He didn't pass for 2 days.
See any seizures? No.
Diabetic or anything? Diabetic or anything?
Dang.
Yes, pacemaker.
Sorry,
So
y'all.
his heart,
Okay.
he smokes too much, so he has, I can hear the COPD.
I'll step back there.
You want to let him know, stay in the chair? So I won't take a walk.
He has that hair gloves. If you don't mind. Just not, yeah, thank you. Something hurt you, Leroy? Something, you in pain?
He bounced off every sharp corner in this one.
Like seizure maybe or something?
It is what it
Just sitting at the table.
He wouldn't tell me, I kept asking him, what did you say? It was just like the lead gave him.
So he was talking to you.
Just that, and, call the ambulance.
So you actually told him to call the ambulance?
Yes.
Well, relax, Leroy, we got you. Sit back. Sit back, big guy.
is. Relax, bud. All right, relax.
It's okay, bud.
All right, bro.
Do you guys want to pull me into this? I don't hear it. Oh, okay.
What time?
Hold on, though. Relax.
Yeah. No music though. Morning.
Just
Hey, Leroy, relax, buddy. We're here to help you.
relax.
Just lean forward.
How are you?
No, don't fight us.
Why are you trying to get away? Can I go for me? No, we can't pull the door closed. It's going
He's got a face, you got a pacemaker.
Just, do you have any, just a pacemaker?
He said like, call in. You can't communicate with us now. Faster.
They went swimming yesterday. Hoppers. Today they're going to the movies. They've been enjoying. I don't know if I believe he got out and called the ambulance.
Any minutes it takes?
I don't know if I believe.
Gas on? Is gas on?
Do you have a list or anything? Okay, any allergies?
That's just one?
That's one. Since they're on him.
You gotta sit back, all right? We're gonna put some straps around you. We're gonna carry you out.
Yeah, do you want to drive, but we can get home somehow?
So what if, other than the pacemaker, what does he have for medical issues? Anything?
No. Really? Oh fuck, so we have to close and then open? I don't even know. Pick up and over, huh?
Literally on fire.
Hey, you guys gonna have a challenge getting them out of here. It's not.
And the fact that they got to clean all this up.
When I go. It's a tough time getting him out of here. It's like clusterfuck. He's like combative because I don't know if he had a seizure or something, but.
Him to be through. I can't manage, you know. And I'm thinking.
Okay. Was that what did Grace say?
Then there's no reason to use the parking brake and also the front brakes as well, so that's why the fluid lights coming out. So you can do that Monday and do your car.
You can do it next week, fall.
No, this is the Massachusetts home, and this is Floever. Damn, Leroy. She ain't get up from the table. She ain't try to make it pass. Nothing.
Now, with the caveat that the officer wearing body cam kind of stepped in and out of the room that you were in, did that accurately portray the your interactions with Mr. Fowler on November 11th of 2022? in the video, as it's playing, you can hear in the background or on the audio, somebody groaning, sort of almost constantly. Who is that?
It was the individual on the ground.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
And obviously, you had a little bit more contact with him than the video shows because the video doesn't quite get him into the ambulance. From when the video ends until you ended your involvement with Mr. Fowler that morning, was he able to give you any other information? Did he talk to you at all?
I don't recall any conversation with him.
Did his appearance or his demeanor change at all from when you got him into the chair into those last couple of seconds before he got into the ambulance?
I'd say the only difference would be he kind of, I guess, maybe felt more stimulated because we were moving him, so started to grow a little bit more. I think you heard at one point said it just relaxed. We're trying to get him in a chair to get him out. Started to be a little bit more movement-wise with the arms and stuff like that, but that's it.
And based on your medical treatment, I know you're not a doctor, were you able to figure out what, at that point, what was wrong with him?
No, that was what we struggled with, trying to come up with the right plan and, hospital for him. We really had no idea what was going on.
So while you were there on scene, did you, aside from sort of holding him up to make sure he didn't fall down, hurt himself that way, did you provide any sort of medical intervention for him that morning at the house?
No.
And in the bedroom itself where you were, or in the kitchen as you walked in and out, did you notice any drugs or anything like that anywhere in the apartment?
I did not.
I don't know any further. Thank you. Your witness, Mr. Okotis.
In relation to responding to an event such as this, ultimately you do some sort of paperwork when you get back to the station, right?
That's correct.
And this is actually I have two different types of documents. One would be the incident report filed by the Salisbury Police Department. Did you have an opportunity to look at that before you came in here today?
Yes, I believe, yes.
And in relation also to that, there is a pre-hospital care report. Is that also done by your group?
It is.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to look at that?
I did not. I did not fill out that report.
And would you possibly, within the context of that, there's a narrative. Judge, may I approach to refresh this?
If you may, if you dare with me sounding like this.
You do the unmarked on the whole. Look at that form. Now, there's a narrative section in that, and the purpose of that would be what?
I'm sorry, the purpose of the narrative?
Yeah.
To describe the events, what we saw, what we witnessed, what we did.
Okay. And within the context of that, the fourth line down said he was conscious and somewhat alert when you first got there, correct?
I'm just making sure, so is this the patient care report? Because again, this isn't my report. This isn't my report, though.
This is not your report?
No, so can I explain?
Well, let me just take you through it. In the corner, it has the same symbol that is from the fire department, right?
I must object. There's no refreshing going on here. The report itself is not evidence, so we just need to actually ask him this question.
Well, I'm going to allow Mr. Narkunis to at least ask the witness about whose report or what this report is. Whether I permit any other questions remains to be seen. By Mr. Narkunis.
And showing you a second report titled Salisbury Fire Department. The purpose of that would be it has the same logo in the upper corner as the other report called Pre-Hospital Care Report, correct?
Yes, so these are two different reports. I did write this one.
The two reports that are required by your department in responding to such a call as this.
Yes, one gets reported to the state, one is in-house, and is on our record system.
But it's the group under you that responded to supply the information for both those reports, right?
Correct.
So within the context then of the narrative that is there, either you or one of the other people with you filled out that report and said he was conscious and somewhat alert, right?
Sustained. The witnesses said this is not his report, he didn't fill it out.
Again, that is a report done by someone of the crew that's shown in that film, right?
This patient pre-hospital care report was done by a member shown in that video, yes, not
One
myself.
of the people with you, right?
Correct.
Okay. Under your direction, right?
Sir, he keep telling you this is a report, not his report.
Adopt that and sign that since you were in charge of that group, it becomes your report.
I do not. That's what this report's for.
Who did the actual narrative report? Of those men who were there with you, who did that report?
Matthew Swenson, he was on shift that day, and he was the lead tech for that call.
And in the context of it, do you collectively get together before a report like that is filed and say, how do we report this?
We have discussions on it, but it's up to him to write how he handled the call, what he did for treatments. I don't really have any input other than, sharing experiences on calls and trying to, figure out what was going on. But this is just a factual report on what he did.
So he's the person that does the medical assessment.
Correct. We always work in teams, but there's always a lead tech, we call it, and that's the one responsible for doing the pre-hospital care report.
So from the fire department, from the crew that we just saw there is a person that is responsible for the medical assessment.
Correct.
And that's the person that did the analysis.
Correct.
So you don't make the medical assessment.
Well, again, we work as a team to provide care for the patient, but when it comes to the record portion, record keeping, only one person can write a report, and it's the lead tech. So that would have been Matt for this call.
That would be the person most qualified to give the medical assessment of the group that was there.
Not always the most qualified. We were all basic EMTs, so we had the same qualifications. Kenny was just on that particular shift. I was in charge. It was his responsibility to do the report. That's just kind of how
You're
it.
going to want to make sure he doesn't write something that you completely disagree with, right? You're the shift commander, right?
I've never come across that.
Well, that wasn't the question. You don't want him to write down something that you don't agree with, right?
I don't really have any control over that. He writes down, what he saw, what he did, how he performed, vitals. That's. I never questioned. We train on this. I never questioned one of my guys whether he's doing a report correctly.
Right. So if he's in charge, he makes the medical assessment independent of you. Your observations as to medical issues there don't carry the same weight, right?
I'm not quite sure I understand.
One person, you're telling me, makes the medical assessment. One person
No, I said one person does a report.
of the medical assessment without any input from you.
On the report, correct. I don't provide any input while he's making the report.
So whatever that says, whoever else it goes to, whatever accountability is for that, your hands are clean.
I don't understand
You've got any of the shift commander,
Correct.
people under you report what you believe should be reported as a charge, or they don't, right?
I'm not sure
What
whether.
you're telling me is the person that does this report operates.
Can we let the witness answer the first question, Judge?
Yes, just a moment. You asked a question and you started to say, I think, I'm not sure. You may finish what your response was to the first question.
Could you repeat the first question then?
You don't need to repeat the first question. I think we can infer you were saying you don't understand the question. Next question.
So this pre-hospital care report is done by the person most medically qualified of your group, and you don't have any input to it.
Again, that's not accurate.
What would be accurate?
It's not. I've already stated it's not the most qualified person. We have the same qualifications. It's the person that was in that role on that engine that day that was responsible for doing the report. Sometimes we alternate. If it was another call, I can say, okay, I'll do this report. Depends on who the lead tech was. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. He was the lead tech. I was the officer. The third individual was the driver. So we all have a role. Sure, we all assess patients. We all try to provide patient care. But there's only one individual that does that report. I don't put my fingers in it. Neither does the driver. Neither does the police officer. Just that one individual. So
Just the last kind of question. So this would be the only report as to the condition of the person that you saw on that point, right?
from us, yes.
Can I explain the documents you have?
It's your name.
Would it be a fair assessment that when entering the room, Mr. Fowler was conscious and somewhat alert? Is that your memory?
He was conscious and that's by somewhat alert. Yeah, I mean, he was able to make noises.
Nothing further.
Mr. Camilio, any follow-up?
No, thank you, sir.
You may step down, Lieutenant. Thank you very much. Before your next witness, I just want to make an observation to the jury.
An observation to the jury.
Jurors, during the testimony of the last witness, who was Lieutenant Foss, you heard references to various reports, one of which he said he wrote, one of which he said he didn't. And throughout the course of this trial, you may hear various witnesses questioned about something that they may have said in a report, or perhaps something somebody else said in a report. It could be a reference to something a witness may have said in an interview, even perhaps a recorded interview. It may be a reference to what someone may have said in the grand jury. And when you hear these things, you may think to yourself, I'd like to see that report. I'd like to see that recorded interview. I'd like to see the grand jury transcript. What I want you to understand is that our rules of evidence allow the lawyers to make certain limited use of these documents. One of the most frequent ones is if somebody has said something in a report, for example, on a prior occasion, that may be construed to be somewhat different from what the witness may be saying on the witness stand. Maybe be asked, didn't you say something different during an interview? Didn't you say something different in the report? Did you say something different before the grand jury when testifying? That's a permissible use. But what neither side can do, neither lawyer on either side or any of the lawyers on either side can do, is simply offer those documents into evidence. So you shouldn't hold it against any attorney or the parties they represent that you're not seeing these things that you might think you'd like to see, because our rules of evidence don't permit them to do that. So I want you to understand that at the outset as you start to hear these references to various documents and the like. Mr. Camilio, your next witness.
Thank you. Matthew Swenson.
Stand on this blue line.
Sir, if you would kindly face me and raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the cause now and hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Ladies.
Good morning, sir. A nice loud voice. Could you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name, please?
Good morning. My name is Matthew Swenson. It's Swenson.
All right. And I know it's maybe a little uncomfortable because you're a big guy and the microphone's a little too far away. You can pull it a little bit closer if you need to certify the step there. And sir, what do you do for work?
I am a fire lieutenant.
All right. And how long have you been a firefighter, sir, with the Salisbury Fire Department?
25 years.
Okay. And as a lieutenant with the fire department, sir, what are your duties and responsibilities?
I'm in charge of a shift. I have 3 firefighters under me.
Okay. And what sort of calls do you and other members of the Salisbury Fire Department respond to?
We respond to fire calls, public assists, medical emergencies, public service,
Okay.
pretty much everything.
All right. You guys are so sorry. That sort of thing. So you also mentioned that in addition to being a lieutenant, you're also an EMT. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. And when did you get your EMT training, sir?
In 1996,
So
30 years.
30 years. All right. So were you an EMT prior to becoming a firefighter?
Yes.
And that is just the basic EMT certification?
Yes.
All right. Now, sir, I want to take you back to November 11th of 2022. You worked on that day?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And the jury heard from Lieutenant Foss a few minutes ago. So were the two lieutenants on shift that day?
No, I was just a firefighter at that time,
Oh, hadn't been promoted yet at that time. When did you get promoted?
2 years ago.
So that particular day, you, Lieutenant Foss, and a couple of other individuals responded to a medical call a little bit after 8 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you remember where you went?
It was, I believe, 108 Central Avenue.
Was that an address that you were sort of familiar with from living in Salisbury, or being a member of this?
We knew Central Ave. We do a lot of calls on down the beach area. Yes.
All right. So you Lieutenant Swenson, arrived in the fire truck to that address. Is that correct?
Yes. That's correct.
And what did you do when you got there, sir?
I was riding the rear, which is usually the tech guy, which we call it. I grabbed my first in bag and I went down the walkway toward where the police officer was.
Okay. And so as the first in guy or the tech guy, what does that mean?
We're usually the ones that make patient contact first, or to the family. We'll ask what was going on, we'll talk to the family, ask what was going on, and then talk to the patient.
Just to sort of divide up the roles?
Yes. Yeah.
So you go into the apartment, into that floor of the home, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and when you entered, what did you see as you entered the apartment?
We walked in, there was a lot of boxes and stuff around in the apartment. The female met me at the door, and then I could hear the gentleman moaning. So she walked me into the bedroom where he was. He was sitting on the floor in the bedroom.
Okay. Did you recognize either the woman who entered the door or the man who was on the floor at that time?
No, I've never met them before.
Okay. So you see the man on the floor in the bedroom. You later learned his name to be Leroy Fowler. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, yes.
And so what were your initial, aside from the moaning you said you could hear from the other room, what were your initial observations of Mr. Fowler when you first saw him?
He was, like I said, he was sitting on the floor in the bedroom. He was just kind of like reaching out. He just had his arms out, and he was moaning.
Okay. Did you make contact with him?
Yes.
All right. What was the result of that sort of first contact you made with Mr. Fowler?
I didn't get anything back from him. I believe I called his name, and I asked him what was going on. He was unable to answer me.
Okay. Just did he continue to moan?
Yeah, he continued to moan and just reach out.
So fair to say he was conscious.
Yes.
Okay. What would you describe his alertness? How would you describe that?
He wasn't very alert. He was conscious. He was breathing fine, but he wasn't very alert. He was, like I said, he was just reaching out and just moaning.
Okay. Now, did you provide any aid to him while you were in the apartment?
We attempted to get vital signs from him, but it was extremely difficult because he was, like I said, he was moving around, kept on moving his arms.
Just couldn't hold still.
Couldn't hold still. So I kept on asking questions, like asking questions to him, see if he would answer me, and asking questions to the female about any history he had, any medications he'd take.
Okay. Was he ever able to answer any of those questions that you asked him about any medical conditions or questions he asked?
Not at all.
So based on what you were seeing, because you couldn't get vitals and he wasn't able to give you any information, based on what you were seeing at that point in time, were you able to tell what was wrong with him?
I was not. No.
So based on, again, what you're seeing and what you're hearing from him, was that the type of moaning or the breathing that he was, is that at all significant to you or concerning?
No, his breathing was fine. His pulse was fine. He had a really strong pulse. It was just he was unable to answer me.
So based on that, what you were seeing, what you were hearing, what do you guys decide to do at that point?
He definitely needed to be transported to the hospital as soon as possible for higher care.
Yeah, okay. More care than
More care.
basic EMT can provide.
Yes.
Did you see any signs of, on Mr. Fowler, any evidence, breath or anything else, even drinking alcohol?
I didn't smell anything. I got down pretty close to him. When I was trying to talk to him, I didn't smell anything.
You kind of holding him up at that point?
I was kind of holding him up and trying to keep his arms from flailing around.
Was that to keep you from getting hurt, keep him from getting hurt?
Both. Yes.
One of the terms that you used earlier was, and I don't want to get it wrong, was you were giving a description of his alertness level. What was the word you used? Was it somewhat, or what word you used?
We do like when we do our report, it's conscious and alert and oriented is what we use our report. It's like CAO, and we do either ×4, which is a normal person who's talking. ×3 is a little confused. ×2 is very confused. So he was very confused. I'd probably say probably a ×2. A ×1 is almost unresponsive.
So he was conscious but not responsive to your question?
Yes, that's correct.
By conscious, obviously, you mean he's breathing.
He's breathing. Yeah, he's breathing. He had a good heart rate.
That's sort of the base, sort of the bottom level, I guess.
Yes.
And then once you said he wasn't able to answer any of your questions in the bedroom, correct?
None.
All right. So you and some of the other individuals that were there providing assistance, you put him in a special kind of chair for transport out of the apartment?
Yes, we call it a stair chair. It's we sit them in it. They're secured to the chair with seat belts to carry them out of the residence.
And called a stair chair?
Stair chair.
Going up and down the stairs?
Yes.
So from the time you put him in the chair, you then sort of take him downstairs and wheel him over to the ambulance, is that correct?
Yes.
The ambulance is not operated by the fire department?
No, it's a private service.
So from when you all help him out of the apartment to the ambulance, during that time at all, was he able to say anything to you regarding his condition?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Mr. Norquist?
Sir, you've been continually employed by the fire department since November of 2022, correct?
Yes, sir.
And on an average yearly basis, how many calls such as this would you respond to? Medical calls.
Medical calls? I'd say probably 1,000 to 1,500 a year.
And so from 2022 to now, you had somewhere around another 5,000 calls, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's fair to say there was nothing significantly unusual about this call, correct? Let me strike that clear. Did you have an opportunity to look at the video before you came in to testify today?
I did, sir.
And in the context of that video, it's fair to say that there was nothing significantly unusual when you arrived. Meaning, his arm wasn't hanging off, you didn't need to do immediate medical.
No, nothing that I saw that needed immediate.
A grown ass man that can't get anything out and keep reaching out. That's unusual.
What was
Afro medicine national treasure.
You were part of the group that was there. My understanding now is that only one of that group of medical firefighters writes a report afterwards called a pre-hospital care report, correct?
That's correct, sir. It's usually the tech who takes care of the patient who has initial contact. That would be me.
And Did you
They
have-
ain't write that report you're trying to get in, sir.
Today to refresh your memory.
I did not, sir.
And if I show you a document, would you be able to tell me that's the report that you expected? May I vote? Yes, you may. Ask you to just take a moment, look at that cover sheet.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Them making all this noise about these songs ain't gonna do nothing but make people go listen to the song.
The response you did that-
They're inflicting their own pain at this point.
And how quickly after the event is that done?
It's usually done right after the call when we get back to quarters.
And the words that are contained within the narrative would have reflected your memory of what had occurred, right?
Yes, sir.
And is it fair to say that you said he was conscious and somewhat alert, line 4 in the narrative?
Yes. Conscious and somewhat alert, yeah. Sorry, forgot my reading glasses.
Sorry. So it does say you wrote down conscious and somewhat alert when you arrived.
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
I don't know.
Any redirect, Mr. Oh, you can collect that first. Any redirect, Mr. Committee?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. You may step down, Lieutenant. Amelia?
Jonathan Lemke?
Sir, face me and raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name?
My name is Jonathan Lemke, Lemke.
And sir, how old are you?
24.
And what do you do for work, sir?
I'm an EMT,
All right. How long have you been an EMT?
coming up on 5 years.
And what is your level of EMT certification?
EMT basic.
So you were what, 19 or so when you went through EMT training?
Just about, yes.
You've actually heard from a couple of other witnesses who are also EMTs, but just real quickly, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of training you get to become a basic EMT?
For me, it was a little bit different than the regular. I went through an accelerated course in Massachusetts during COVID to kind of expedite providers in the field, but it's a lot of classroom and practical skill training.
Okay, and the goal being to be able to allow you to provide first responder medical treatment and attention to people who are in need.
Yes, sir.
So after you got your EMT certification, where'd you go to work?
With Cataldo Ambulance.
Okay. And I see Cataldo ambulances all over the place. So is that a pretty big ambulance company?
Yes, sir.
And do you know where were you stationed for Cataldo?
Funny enough, right here in Salem.
Right in Salem. All right. And is Cataldo also associated with Atlantic? Is that the same company?
Yes. It is a northern division of Chicago.
Okay. And so usually, what was your normal shift like when you were working for Chicago?
When I was in Salem, I was a 911 ambulance on a EMT basic truck. When I was operating in Newburyport, I was a 911 and interfacility ambulance.
So what was the second part of that?
Interfacility.
What's that
So
mean?
hospital to hospital, hospital to nursing home, not emergent
I
transports.
see, all right. So in addition to working in the Salem area, you also worked in the Newburyport area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did Newburyport encompass Salisbury?
Yes, sir. We responded to Salisbury.
Okay. All right. Now, sir, I want to take you back to November 11th of 2022. Were you working for Cataldo at that point in time?
Yes, sir.
All right. And were you working in Salem or in Newburyport at that point in time?
Newburyport.
And that morning, a little bit after 8 o'clock, did you respond to 108 Central Ave in Salisbury for a call for assistance?
Yes, sir.
And so when you arrived on scene, were there other emergency or police personnel already there when you arrived?
Yes, sir. They had police and fire.
So, so when you arrived on scene, what did you
Figure it out. I'm trying to put Twitch on the damn TV. Okay.
I stepped out of the ambulance and spoke with the police and fire department on scene. I believe there was also a female who was the caller who I spoke with, and then I went inside to see the patient.
So, when you arrive on scene and firefighters are already providing some assistance to a patient, do you take over or do they keep doing it? How's that work?
We take over.
Okay. So you take over when you walk in, and so what did you notice about the patient when you walked in and first started assessing?
From what I recall, he was sick, lethargic, confused, either sitting on the bed or next to his bed.
Did you talk to him?
Yes, sir.
What were you asking? What were you saying?
I was asking what was going on, how he was feeling, if he knew where he was, what was going on with him, and I asked about any drug use.
Was he able to answer you at that point in time?
He was struggling. He was definitely confused to time and place, but with prodding and questioning, yes.
Okay. And so what part of the question was he able to, what part or all of your questions was he able to answer?
He was able to describe how he was feeling. He was able to identify himself, and he was able to confirm that he had used Percocets.
Okay. And where was this conversation in the house or was this conversation that was outside?
Began in the house and then transitioned into the ambulance.
Do you remember if this was mostly in the ambulance or mostly in the house, this conversation? Was it transition? How long were you in the house for?
Very briefly, we tried to check him out, make sure he was okay, and then get him home.
So we say very briefly, 5 minutes.
Yes.
Where is her? Well,
So,
where is Rusty?
how long? So you put him in the ambulance. So you said he was able to talk to you about some issues. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What did he say?
He stated to me that he took 2 Percocets the night before the incident.
What's a Perc-10?
It is a type of Percocet.
10 milligram pill of Percocet?
I believe so, yes.
All right, and was he able to give you any other information?
Not much outside of how he was feeling.
What did he say about how he was feeling?
He himself acknowledged that he was confused. He didn't know what was going on, and that he was feeling sick.
So you put him in, you would assist from the fire department, he goes into the ambulance, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And where does he go from 108, where does he go to?
We transported to the NHS hospital.
And how long, I know it's a little bit inexact, but about how long from 108 Central Street, Salisbury to NHS?
It's been some time, but I would say between 15 and 30 minutes.
Did his demeanor or his presentation change during the course of the ambulance ride?
Not that I recall.
Was he still moaning the way he had been when he walked in? With the arms still flailing around a little bit, or was he kind of restrained within the chair?
Once he was in the ambulance on the stretcher, he had seatbelts on, so there wasn't much room for him to be able to flail.
Based on what you were seeing, could you tell what was wrong with him?
I didn't have an exact diagnosis. That's not actually within our job to do, but I had a impression of substance abuse, but not one of substance overdose.
So the riding to the hospital, is that just you and your ambulance crew, the Cataldo crew, no fire, no police?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Hopkins?
So these were being asked here to recall events of November 2022, correct?
Yes, sir.
It'd be fair to say that your memory would have been better back in, say, early 2023 of those events than it would be here today, 4 years later.
Yes, sir.
And at any point in time, did you have a chance to go in and do an interview with the police officer?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did that, in fact, interview take place in February 6th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And were you asked somewhat similar questions as Mericle asked you here about what took place that day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. When you arrived on that day, it's fair to say you're trying to make a determination of what the medical needs are of that person, right?
Yes, sir.
And when you don't see something exterior to the person, such as blood or cut or redness indicating what the cause may be or the injury may be, you ask them what's wrong, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you ask them to tell you, can you help us? Could you take something? What's wrong, right?
Yes, sir.
And in response to that, in this particular case, Mr. Fowler was able to give you a verbal response, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said, I think that he actually did that twice, once in the house and once in the ambulance.
Yes, sir.
And when you were asked back in February of 2023, you recall that you believed at that point in time that you said it was something along the lines of, I took 10 pills with the response from Mr. Fowler.
Yes, sir. And that was a statement made in error.
I'm sorry, man.
That was a statement made in error. I was.
February 2023, as you told us, your memory was much more alert than it would be today of those events 4 years ago. That statement was wrong.
Yes, sir. Prior to that interview, I had spoken with my previous employer to gain access to my report for that patient. My previous employer refused, but instead verbally read it aloud. And when he read it, he told me 10 Percocets instead of the 2 Percocets.
Did you have some sort of seance that allowed you to know that that statement was incorrect and the 2 10s were correct?
Objection, Judge.
To the form, sustained to the form.
At some point in time, after February 2023, you then came to make some realization that that statement that was made in 2023 was incorrect, right?
Yes, sir.
And did you go back to the police and file a new report?
I did not, sir.
Did you not?
No, sir.
So up until testimony here today, that statement of 2023 was your official statement.
Yes, sir.
So it wasn't 10 that he took, but 2 size 10s.
In relation to, let me try that. When you went into the meeting in February of 2023.
That makes a big difference.
Threatened in any way by the officer that was taking the statement?
No, sir.
Did he treat you harshly?
No, sir.
Did he use you in any way by questions he asked? gave in your answer at that point in time of, I took 10 perks, is it fair to say that at that point in time was the answer you believe was correct?
Yes, sir.
And you believe that that's the answer you heard twice from Mr. Fowler? In 2023, that was the answer you believe you heard twice from Mr. Fowler?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. At any point in time, did he indicate to you or make a statement to you, somebody tried to poison him?
No, sir.
Did he indicate that it was what he drank that caused the symptoms?
No, sir.
And when you were talking to him and his statement came out relative to pills, did you believe you were trying to influence him, to tell him what pills did you take?
No, sir.
You just kept asking me, what did you take?
Yes, sir.
In that context of his condition that he was able to respond to, he was alert enough to know what the question was and gave you a response to the question, right?
I believe not initially, but after repeated questioning, yes, sir.
What did you take? It gave you an answer of taking something, which back then you said you thought was 10 pills, now you believe it's 2 per 10, right?
Yes, sir.
So he was still addressing you and answering your response to the question.
Yes, sir.
It would be fair to say that you actually answered 3 separate questions. That's right. Did anybody show you a copy of the interview you did back in February of 2023 prior to coming before this day?
No, sir.
I suggested to you that there were 3.
That tummy tuck situation is, and I think she was in Ohio too.
That would refresh your memory that you answered it 3 times to the officer.
Yes, sir. I did say that.
Cameraman, don't give us motion sickness now.
May I have a moment, Joe?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Camillo, any redirect?
Yes, thank you. So you were asked if your memory was better in February of 2023 as it is today, and you said it was, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Fair to say that your memory was best on November 11th of 2022?
Yes, sir.
And in connection with your duties and responsibilities for the college, do you write a report when you go out for a service call like this?
Yes, sir. Every transport.
And you do that report on the day of service?
Yes, sir.
And did you do a report in this particular case?
Yes, sir.
And may I approach Judge?
Yes, you may.
Sir, just hand you a 2-page document. Just take a look at that for yourself. You know, read to yourself for a second. Did you recognize the document I handed you?
Yes, sir.
And what can you recognize that document to be?
That is my patient run report.
Patient run report? The patient run report that you wrote on November 11th, 2022 after hearing some medical assistance from Mr. Fowler?
Yes, sir.
And what did you write? Did you make a note in that report about what Mr. Fowler told you about Percocet use that day?
Yes, sir.
And what did you write in the report?
I directly wrote, patient states he has taken 2 Percocet 10 pills within the last 12 hours.
Thank you.
Mr. Norquist, any follow-up?
So, when he actually spoke to you, Mr. Fowler, he not only had a quantity of pills, he knew the time frame that he took them.
Yes, sir.
And he was alert enough to give that type of response. This quantity within this time period.
I don't recall him being able to give an accurate time outside of the night before the incident.
Well, you wrote 12 hours, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't want to mislead any other medical personnel doing it, right?
Yes, sir.
If you said sometime during the night, that can be a big difference between 12 hours and sometime during the night.
Yes, sir.
You wrote specifically for 12 hours to give you a definitive answer.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You may step down, Mr. Lemon.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth calls Tammy Carbone.
Yes, Mr. Scully will be doing this witness, just so the court knows.
Thank you.
Is Barbara gonna get up here on this stand? Somebody tell me if Barbara coming.
Make your way up. Do me a favor and just stand on this blue line right here.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the cause now hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated.
All right, good afternoon, man. And a nice loud voice. Just make sure you keep your voice up the whole time. Can you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name?
Tammy Carbone, Carbone.
And then, where do you live?
I live in Salisbury, Massachusetts.
How long have you lived in Salisbury?
I have lived there for 30 years.
And what was your relationship to Leroy Fowler II, or Leroy Fowler Jr., as he's sometimes referred
I'm his sister.
to? And older sister, younger sister?
I'm his older sister.
And were you and Mr. Fowler, your brother, close?
Yes,
He also lived in Salisbury for a lot of his life, is that right?
yes,
And did you guys spend time together?
yes.
What did you guys do? What did you guys do for fun together?
A lot of times we like to go yard sailing, and I would go down the beach sometimes where he lived.
Okay. And would you guys go down, walk with it? Would you guys actually walk down to the beach area and sit on the beach, or?
Yeah, we'd go down there, and then sometimes we'd go down the beach and go down and get pizza and stuff.
Okay. How often would you see your brother?
Sometimes I'd see him like every week, and I'd see him a couple times a week, and then on the weekends, when it was yard sale time, we'd see each other probably every weekend.
Anything in particular that you would sort of look for when you go to these yard sales?
No, we just like to go. We always enjoyed yard sailing together.
I've never heard that term before, yard sailing. It's,
Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
okay.
Remember?
And so, would he come by and pick you up, or would you meet him there, or?
Sometimes I'd pick him up, sometimes he'd pick me up, and sometimes we'd meet somewhere and we'd go together, and we just really always enjoyed it. It was a thing we all did. The whole family always did it when we were younger, and we enjoyed it a lot.
Fair enough. Now, did you know Mr. Fowler's girlfriend, Miss Church?
Yes, I did.
How long have you known Judy Church?
I have known her since he started going out with her.
Did you see her here in the forum today?
Yes, I do.
Just point her out and describe what she's wearing.
She's right there with, I believe it looks like a blue jacket, black jacket.
Just ask the record reflect identification, Your Honor. And so, about when did your brother, Mr. Fowler, and Miss Church start their relationship? Do you remember?
I believe it may have been it was either 13 or 14 years ago.
So around 12-ish, in that range.
Yeah.
So how did you first meet her? Just through your brother?
Yes.
And did you, so when you would socialize with Leroy, did you also socialize with Miss Church?
Yes, I did.
And was she part of the yard sailing crew?
Yeah,
All right. And did you and Miss Church have a independent relationship of Leroy?
yeah, I mean, I would go down there and visit with her, or she would go with us on yard sailing, and she joined in.
Did you and Miss Church sometimes talk on the phone together?
Yes, we did.
Sometimes text back and forth?
Yep.
Did you also know Leroy's other girlfriend, for lack of a better way to put it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what was her name? What was her name?
Her name is Barbara.
Barbara Randall?
Yes.
And you also sometimes, see Barbara and socialize with her when you were seeing your brother?
Yes, when he was with her, if he stopped by or if he called me, she even joined in the yard sale if
So, a little awkward sometimes?
yes, it was.
But sort of something you just accepted about your brother?
Yeah.
He bringing who he bringing. You coming or not? Look at her. She feel betrayed. You can't be both of the sisters now.
Yes, this is my brother.
Is that a fair picture of what he looked like? In the years before he died?
Yep.
No, they come in, it's the next exhibit.
All right, so that's a picture of Leroy, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the good-looking puppy that's sitting on his lap, who's that?
That's Saul.
Salt?
Yep.
Okay. All right, and you know where the picture was taken?
That is at their house at Salisbury Beach.
Okay, so 108 Central Ave?
108 Central Ave, yep.
Okay. All right, great, thank you. And so
You're welcome.
You're familiar with 108 Central Ave, home there?
Yes.
Did you sometimes visit Leroy at the house?
Yes.
Okay, and how often would you go over to the house and do things there in the home?
I have been there many a times.
Okay. In the months before his death, were you there frequently?
No. I hadn't been there in quite a while before that.
Would you still go to the house and see your brother outside of the house?
Yeah, for a while there, I hadn't been in the house. I would go there sometimes and he would come outside and talk to me. Or I'd pick him up there if we were going anywhere.
Did you make any observations about the inside of the house as I sort of in the months leading up to his death that you noticed as you weren't going in as much?
No, there really wasn't much going on. Like outside, there was a lot of stuff outside and stuff, but I hadn't been in quite a while.
Now, I want to take you back to November of 2022, and in those last couple of days before Leroy died.
Yep.
Do you remember when the last time you saw him was before his death?
Yes, the last time I saw him was the week of November 4th on the top of my street on Brooks Road in Salisbury. I was sitting up there to pick up my grandkids off the bus, and him and Judy Church pulled up, and he spoke to me, and that was the last day I saw him.
How do you look?
He looked fine. They stopped there and talked to me a few minutes, and then they went on their way.
You didn't notice any problems with them, nothing?
No, he talked to me to make sure I had a ride into Boston with my husband and told me if I didn't, the following week, to let him know. And they were fine. They were getting lunch and I talked to him a couple of days after that and I didn't hear from him at all after that.
So you said you talked to him a couple days, so that was what you said about November 4th or so?
Yep,
And you said you spoke to him a couple days after that?
Yes.
Was that on the phone?
yes.
Okay, and when you spoke to him on the phone, did he sound like he was doing okay? He was able to talk to you? No
Yeah.
problems communicating
Yep.
with
Yep.
you? Now, November 11th, was that a special day?
Yes, November 11th is his birthday. And I tried to text him that morning and he never texts back.
And when was the first time that you learned something was maybe wrong with Leroy?
Around 6:30, that night, I, got a phone call from, Judy Church. And, she told me that she had been at the hospital all day with my brother.
And did she tell you what was wrong with him?
She told me that, she took him to the hospital and she had sat at the hospital all day with him. And, that they took him to, I can't remember the name of the hospital,
Do you remember the first one she said that he went to?
Anna Jake's Hospital.
Okay, and then did she then tell you that he was getting transferred to another hospital?
Yes, she told me that she had him, he got, she gave him, okay to put him on a ventilator because he had something wrong with his pH and, she went on to tell me this whole story.
When you say this whole story, what did she tell you? What do you remember?
She told me that the day before he was having trouble thrashing around at the house and he was banging up against the house. They were getting ready to move furniture out and everything, and he was going on and banging around the house and had knocked over all kinds of furniture and curtains and banging around. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, I don't know what was going on with him. He just couldn't stand up, but you know how he is. He thinks he's 20 and thinks he can bang around and pick everything up. And I don't really know what was going on with him. And she said, and then he said to me, well, he said, if I didn't know any better.
Don't, just because of the way the rules are, you can't tell us what Mr. Fowler said, just some of the things that Mr. Church said.
Oh, okay.
All right.
And
So
then,
let me stop you there for a second.
okay,
So she was telling you about some of the events that had happened on November 10th, the day before.
yeah, she had, and she said, so I, she said, so he was just banging around, falling down and knocked over all her curtains and knocked over all her paperwork, tax papers and stuff. So I said to her, why are you here with him? Why'd you stay there all day with him? I said, that's not normal. Usually you would call me. I said, and you didn't call me.
So let me stop you there. So you said she called you around 6 or 6:30 that
Yes.
that evening?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said usually she would call you. So Mr. Leroy had a pacemaker.
Yes, he had a pacemaker.
He had some other health issues.
Yeah. So whenever he went to the hospital, if Barbara or Judy took him to the hospital, they would call me. I was always the first one they would call if he was there. And I asked her why she didn't call me. I said, you stayed there for like 12 hours and you didn't call me and you gave them an okay to put him on a ventilator and all that and you didn't call me? And she's like, oh, well, and that's when she started giving me the whole story that everything went on and what was going on. And then she started telling me that his pH was off and all this stuff about his blood. And she just went on and on about this whole
Barbara
story.
and Judy just working together, ain't they?
During the phone you remember how many phone conversations you had with her that night? Just the one you talking about?
Then she hung up, and then she said, I have to get home because I have to take care of the dogs and pick up all the paperwork and put my curtains all back up that fell down. And so she went on with all that, and then that was the end of that.
So let's go back to that phone call for a second. Now, during the phone call with conversation with Ms.
Yeah.
Church, did she say something to you that?
Objection.
To leading, what's the objection? It may be necessary to frame the question, but Mr. Camillo, think about that as you frame it.
Thank you. Did she say something to you that was concerning?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Well, what did she say to you that concerned you during that phone conversation?
She had said that Leroy had said something to her about.
You can't say what nobody said. They just told your old ass that now.
Sidebar, if I need to on this.
Oh, this is good God. All right, so we know that Leroy's sister was everybody's sister, and whichever one of the girls was around was her sister when they was around, but they both knew to contact the sister if something was going on with Leroy. The other thing is him banging around and all of that stuff. I mean, if anybody knows anybody that had a pacemaker, if that thing malfunctions or does have to go off, you have to call somebody immediately because it's shocking them. And it's scary, especially if it's doing it when it shouldn't be doing it. It's crazy that he was playing with his heart rate like that, messing with substances, and he had a pacemaker in. Because when those things go off, like, let's be clear, when those things go off, have y'all ever seen somebody, like, I remember Pop had one the year before he transitioned, and one day it just started malfunctioning, and you know good and well, I don't know if it was what the correct term for that thing was he had, but the little pads that he had on them, all of a sudden they started to excrete like this blue gel, like, okay, get ready, I'm finna shock your ass. And he was just sitting there like, oh God, oh God, oh God, because we didn't know how to stop it, but didn't nobody want to grab him, but didn't. It was the craziest thing. And then the people from the customer service is on the phone and we're trying to stay calm, but not, but brace in case he gets shocked because it was completely malfunctioning. And you have to get 911 and somebody there quick, and you damn sure don't want to do that shit by yourself. Like, so everybody who was in the water felt it. See, like that's not nothing to play with. They can't really get up and just thrash about like a fish out of water. They can't really do anything like that. So what is this thrashing about? Unless he was on like the booger sugar sent him into a rage and he was throwing stuff. But thrashing about or throwing stuff around in the condition that we just saw him in on that body cam is two totally different fucking things. Okay. Those two things are absolutely different. That can't be the same thrashing around or that maybe she experienced with the sister before. It can't be. It can't be. It definitely does not seem like it just seems off. That part does seem off. Yeah, it's a little crazy. So you got to know it was something different. You got to know it was something different. Okay, so now they got to tell us exactly what they're trying to keep out because we just want to know what was off about this, right? And they still got that mess up there. But we just want to know what was off about whatever he said. Come on now. She was actually getting ready to say something that her brother said to her. So she talked about how whether he was with Barbara or Judy, that if something was going on with her brother, then they knew to call her first, or she always got a call. So she found it very weird that Judy took him to the hospital and allowed them to put a ventilator on in him or put him on a ventilator before she even said anything. And now she's calling talking about he was thrashing about and doing all this yesterday, and now she got to go home and clean up the mess. And now we find out that, hey, the sister, like, that was kind of weird. Then they asked the sister what was done or what was said that concerned you the most, like what stood out. And right when she was getting ready to say something about somebody said something, then about to do some dang on hearsay, they ended up at the bench. And we've been stuck at the bench, but because they got that one white noise at the bench, I got it kind of paused. But she was just getting ready to say what he said. But after, other than that, yeah. But the fact that it's taking this long, we've been at the bench for a smooth little minute. Yeah, it's been almost 10 minutes. Oh, dang it. Hold on.
Rephrase that question. Say it again so we can all remember what it was. So you had said that there was something that Ms. Church told you that night on Friday that was concerning to you in that phone conversation, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Something years ago.
Yes.
And what was it that she said to you?
She had said that Leroy had made a comment to her about well, maybe he thought that she may have put something in his shake that she had made him,
And
poisoned him with stuff in his shake.
And at the time you first heard that, were you, what did you think?
It was kind of, it was like,
Sustained.
Sorry.
What did the witness think that sustained? And let me just stop you for a moment, Mr. Camilio. You just heard a statement that this witness made that she attributed to the defendant, Ms. Church. And within that statement is another statement that, according to this witness, Ms. Church attributed to Mr. Fowler, the decedent. Again, it's entirely up to you to credit to what extent, if any, you believe such a statement was made by Ms. Church.
I'm sorry.
But to whatever extent that you do, I want to emphasize something to you. That testimony regarding what Mr. Fowler purportedly said to Ms. Church is only admitted for a limited purpose. It bears on Ms. Church's state of mind at the time she was having this conversation with the witness, Ms. Carbone. And it also, the statement attributed to Mr. Fowler may be considered by you only as it may bear on Mr. Fowler's state of mind at the period of time preceding his death. What you may not consider that statement attributed to Mr. Fowler for, however, is what we refer to as the truth of any facts asserted in that statement. In other words, the statement by Mr. Fowler, apparently recorded or purportedly to Ms. Church, of some belief that he may have had about whether Ms. Church put anything in his milkshakes, that's not admissible as proof that Ms. Church put anything in his milkshakes. It's fundamentally important that you understand that. That is not proof at all, and it would be unfair for you to consider that statement for that purpose. Again, what you've just heard, if you credit it, goes to Ms. Church's state of mind, you go to Mr. Fowler's state of mind, and that's it. Do any counsel need to hear me in light of that instruction? And I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you a more fulsome or more complete instruction, what we call a limiting instruction, a little bit later on in the trial. You may hear some other statement that may be similar in kind, and at that point, I'm going to give you another instruction that may be even more complete than that. Go ahead, Mr. Committee.
So after your phone conversation with Ms. Church, did you continue to communicate with her via text that night?
Yes.
Okay. And there was a number of texts back and forth that evening, is that correct?
Yes.
And then I'm gonna show you 3 text messages, which are some excerpt from the text message conversation that you had with Ms. Church that night. I'm just asking you to read it to yourself and then just kind of look up at me when you had a chance to read those 3 texts.
Wait, who blocked?
Okay, and do you remember the text message conversation that is recorded on these 2 pieces of paper?
Yes.
Okay, and is that, to the best of your memory, a fair and accurate?
Let me go look.
Text message conversation you had with Ms. Church that evening?
Yes.
Your Honor, office is the next exhibit.
No objection, Your Honor.
Next exhibit.
And this text message exchange between you and Ms. Church consisted of 3 texts, this excerpt, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, in the first one at 8:10 p.m., Ms. Church wrote to you, visiting is from 1 to 8, one person at a time, just to let you know, exclamation point. I'll leave to be there at 1 and leave before I'm driving in the dark. You replied, okay, thanks, hope he'll be awake tomorrow. And then Ms. Church wrote to you, me too, exclamation point.
What's the YouTube name over there?
I think I'll bring him a coffee frap.
Miss Paula?
Yes.
And did you understand that third text message? What did you understand that to be in reference to?
To bring him a coffee shake?
Coffee frap, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you understand that to be in reference to?
That she was gonna bring him a coffee shake? Maybe.
Uh-uh.
But what did you understand? What did you understand to be referring back to anything?
Yes, the same conversation she had told me that.
The conversation you had earlier on the phone?
Yeah.
I don't see hers as anything hidden at all.
When did you actually get the chance to go to the hospital and see Leroy?
I never made it up there until they were.
Yeah, you're not blocked or anything, or?
You didn't make it to Anna Jake's, right?
No, I never made it to Anna Jake's because she told me they were moving him to, before she even let anybody know he was there. When she called me, they were already
both of
moving him in transport to bring him to Mount Auburn. That's where they took him.
Auburn and Cambridge?
Yeah, before she even called me, she sat there and didn't notify anybody, none of the family. Sorry.
That's okay. This might be a good spot to take. We're going to take the lunch break. This is a good spot to take questions.
I think we will take we're gonna break for an hour. Jurors will reconvene at 2:00.
All right.
Alrighty. We'll see if they do anything OJP, but we're actually going to go ahead and take a lunch as well.
We'll be in recess for an hour.
Okay, so after this morning in celebration, we have chosen to do this Massachusetts versus Judy Church. Yeah, they really got her looking like a grandma when that's not what Judy was looking like. They really playing, y'all. I wish. They really playing. But we're going to go ahead and set up our next stream. So we're going to go ahead and take a break for an hour. We'll be right back after lunch for more testimony in day one of Massachusetts versus Judy Church. Did she just have a crackhead that took one too many? And what she thought would be a learning experience for him by way of taking videos of him while he was thrashing about to tell him about how he had been acting later? Was, just this was the time to do that done it? Or did she actually take some de-icer, aka same ingredient as antifreeze, stick it in his Powerade and take him out by Barbara? I guess we'll find out. All right, y'all, we'll be back after lunch.